Chapter 788, Yimo's Killing Intent. Chapter 788, Yimo's Killing Intent. When those young masters of the Song family fell in Ninghai and lost their lives, Ninghai became quiet. Even the mobsters didn't dare to be cocky, because they knew there was a Yimo in Ninghai. However, this situation was broken 8 years ago. 8 years ago, the mafia mongrel Di Dongbing returned from Italy and set up the Baoshi Hall. Ever since then, the area was under the reign of the Baoshi Hall. The hall wasn't only in Ninghai. It was a famous European corporation. The Baoshi Hall in Ninghai was involved in a wide range of dealings. They would meddle in whatever could earn them money. Today was a celebrational day for them as it was the big boss's only son, Di Hua's birthday. A second reason was that Di Tsifeng's master would be coming to Ninghai that night. Di Tsifeng's master was no ordinary person. What Di Dongbing was most satisfied about was not spreading his corporation all over the world, but knowing Di Tsifeng's master. This master also said that he might take Di Hua in as his disciple. At this moment, a hurried footstep broke his train of thought, and Di Dongbing frowned. Already back when he was still in Italy, he had told his men more than once to always stay calm and not be in a rush. "What is it, Li Ping?" Di Dongbing asked with a frown. Lu Liping was his most useful man in Ninghai, and he was quite vigilant while being strong and loyal at the same time. That was why he kept Lu Liping by his side. Lu Liping shouldn't be this hasty normally. Lu Liping's face was very excited. He saw his boss's tone and knew that he was acting too excited, though, so he quickly calmed down and said, "Big brother, didn't you say before that master was going to come but we didn't have a present? Today, I heard about a very precious gift." Even Di Dongbing got a little excited now and quickly asked, "What is it?" "A luminous pearl," Lu Liping said excitedly. "What? A luminous pearl?" Di Dongbing shot straight up. That was something legendary he had heard about a long time ago already. He saw one in an auction more than 10 years earlier at Paris. That pearl came from China, and it was sold for $500 million. He still remembered the soft light it emitted in the dark. What present could be more precious than a luminous pearl? If it really was that, he wondered if he would even be willing to give it away. But thinking about who that master was, he immediately knew that he would get more if he gave it as a gift to that person. "Yes, a luminous pearl," Lu Liping said in reassurance. "Where is it?" "Get it immediately, and use all means necessary," Di Dongbing ordered. "Big brother, we don't even need to spend money on it. We saw it on an ordinary woman. Her husband just came back today. He found it randomly and left it with her. This family is very ordinary, so if we want it, we only have to dash." Lu Liping made a slicing motion across his throat. Di Dongbing frowned. With his many years of mafia experience, he felt that people who had something like the luminous pearl shouldn't be ordinary. "Where did you get this information?" Di Dongbing returned to his calm tone. Lu Liping said, "I got it from a taxi driver. He took 2 passengers today, a father and daughter, and the daughter said her mother had a luminous pearl but wasn't willing to sell it. From their conversation, the driver inferred the man had given it to his wife." "Are you sure that's true?" Di Dongbing asked in excitement. Lu Liping nodded. Yes, from what the girl said, she knew that they could sell it for a lot of money, though. And she also confirmed with the man whether he had given it to her mother. "Okay then," Di Dongbing yelled in joy and said, "Bring it immediately. Since they know it's a luminous pearl, they won't sell it easily. Do things clean and don't cause trouble." "Yes, big brother, don't worry. They're just ordinary people. Even if they're public figures, we can do it cleanly," Lu Liping affirmed. Yi Yimo was cleaning the kitchen and remembered that her parents were still inside. She secretly went by the door and saw her mom in her dad's arms and quietly closed the door before going to cook. She was really happy. It was said that kids from poor families matured early. Although she was just in 7th grade, she understood very clearly how tough her mother had it. Yimo knew that Yimo had come take a peek, so he patted Song Yangzhu's shoulders and said, "Yangzhu, let's go out and eat. Yimo is cooking, but I'll tell her to stop. We will go out to eat tonight. I have a surprise for you at night. You and Yimo can live with me from now on, so don't think too much. I will give back what you have lost these years. Song Youngju didn't really know what that meant, but her face went red thinking about the surprise at night. Yimo, stop cooking, we'll go out to eat tonight. Yimo brought Song Youngju out and felt a sense of satisfaction seeing his daughter. Really? Yimo looked surprised and joyful. She remembered the delicious smells of the dishes she smelled every time she walked past restaurants, and now, her dad was going to take her out to eat. Yimo pulled Yimo lovingly into his arms again. When they were both in his arms, Yimo thought that happiness could be so simple. Dad, I'm going to change into a pretty set of clothes then. Yimo saw that her mother had changed clothes and said. Yimo rubbed her head and smiled. No need, I'll take you to buy the best-looking clothes in dash. Suddenly, Yimo stopped. His spirit sense scanned a van driving over. The reason why Yimo took notice of it was because he knew one person in the van. It was their taxi driver. He was clearly showing the others the way, and it was towards Song Youngju's house. Yimo also saw 3 men with guns in the van. Why were they bringing so many people with weapons there? Did that woman call for them? He hadn't had time to look for her yet she came to him. But soon, Yimo realized it probably wasn't her. There wasn't even a yellow level aboard the car. She would never let ordinary people take him on. Soon, Yimo realized what the problem was from their conversation. The driver had overheard them talk about the luminous pearl, and so they brought these people to rob the luminous pearl. Thinking about this, Yimo's killing intent rose. Luckily, Yimo had spoken about it in front of him. If it had gotten leaked before today, they wouldn't even be alive, and Yimo would never even know he had a daughter. Youngju, pack your things with Yimo actually. I'm going out for a moment, but after that we can leave, and when we do, we don't need to come back here anymore. Yimo patted Song Youngju and left. Chapter 789, I also want to cultivate. Chapter 789, I also want to cultivate. Someone's blocking the road. The driver suddenly slammed the brakes as he informed Lu Liping. Before Lu Liping could say anything, that taxi driver leading the way said, "That's the man I was talking about." Lu Liping heard this, and his heart skipped a beat. In that instance, he had a bad feeling. This person didn't look like an ordinary person no matter what. He actually seemed to know their purpose and must have stopped their van on the way because of it. Before Lu Liping could say anything, Yimo already opened the door. No one knew how he opened the door, but the 4 people aboard looked at Yimo in a daze. It seemed like they weren't the robbers, but this guy who went on their van without their approval was the robber. You guys probably want this, right? Drive the car to the side of the road, Yimo said after taking out the luminous pearl. A faint luminosity spread out in the van, giving everyone a soft feeling. Luminous pearl? Lu Liping called out in joy. No matter what, this luminous pearl was real. The next moment, he wanted to rob it, but he immediately stopped himself. Drive the car to the side of the road, Lu Liping pointed at a distant corner and said. Lu Liping's words made the rest of the men subconsciously clutch their weapons. Although they didn't know why Yimo brought the luminous pearl on the car like that, it was a fact that the luminous pearl was about to be the Bao Shi Hall's. Yimo put the luminous pearl away. Soon, the car stopped at the corner. Lu Liping just wanted to take out his gun when he saw a few red lights flash by him, and the other 3 couldn't even take out their guns before they were surrounded by balls of fire and died. By the time Lu Liping processed what had happened, he saw Yimo looking at him with a scornful smile. Those men who had been alive just moments earlier eventually disappeared into dust. They couldn't even scream. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never believe such a spiritual incident. Lu Liping couldn't stop shivering. He had experienced bloody battles, but never had he witnessed a scene as shocking as this. Where are they? Lu Liping subconsciously asked, and then immediately felt that he sure was dumb. Was it your idea to take my luminous pearl, or is there someone behind you? Yimo asked. If it wasn't because he wanted to ask this, Lu Liping would be dead already as well. Lu Liping's teeth chattered. He didn't even dare to lie and answered, "It was my big brother, Bao Shi Hall's Di Dongbing." Di Dongbing? Yimo didn't know this guy, and he didn't want to know. Right now, what mattered wasn't to go look for trouble with that man, but to go eat with Yimo and Youngju. He casually threw a fireball at Lu Liping and left the van. Song Yangzhu and Yimo barely had any belongings. There were mostly daily items and Yimo's books. "Dad, there's a lot of things here, should I call for a car?" Yimo asked. "No need." Yimo casually took everything into his ring. Since he was planning to take them away, he didn't want to keep hiding from them that he was a cultivator. Both Yimo and Song Yangzhu looked at Yimo in shock. "Where did all those things go?" "Dad, do you know how to play magic tricks?" Yimo asked after a long while. Yimo then pulled their hands and sat down, telling them all about his cultivation. "Dad, can you really fly?" Yimo grabbed Yimo's hands as she kept asking questions. Yimo smiled and grabbed the two in his arms before taking out his flying sword. The flying sword had a purple ray on it, and they quickly shot into the clouds. Yimo was waving her hands about, unable to say a complete sentence, while Song Yangzhu was completely frozen. She knew Yimo was no ordinary person, but she didn't expect him to be able to fly. If all these events weren't so real and right in front of her, she would think she was dreaming. "Dad, is this the cultivation you were talking about? I also want to cultivate." Yimo hugged Yimo's arms excitedly. Di Dongbing's joyful mood was interrupted once again, and he got up in annoyance. If his loyal man wasn't getting the luminous pearl, perhaps he would start raging already. This was the second time today his good mood was ruined by the sound of desperate footsteps. But after seeing the person, Di Dongbing immediately didn't feel angry anymore and sat down again, changing his expression into a placid facade. It was his niece Di Tsifeng. Although she was his niece, she was extraordinary, and her status wouldn't be any lower than his at the moment. Perhaps it was even higher thanks to her master. "Tsifeng, why did you come in such a rush? Didn't your master say he would be coming at night? Come, have a cup of tea." Di Dongbing smiled and poured her some tea. Di Tsifeng just sat straight down and said with a serious face, "Uncle Bing, today cousin Di Hua was beaten heavily, and is in the hospital right now. The doctor said he might lose his hearing, his face was also ruined, and he lost all his teeth." "What?" Di Dongbing could no longer stay calm and got up drastically. His only son was beaten up so severely. Di Dongbing's face became cruel. Who was it? Who dared do such a thing? Who did it? Where is he? Di Dongbing asked with a green face. He believed that since his niece came, it meant that the culprit was under control. In Ninghai, it was just a matter of one order and he could catch anyone. However, Di Tsifeng replied seriously, "Uncle Bing, sit down first. This matter isn't that simple. I was there at the time, and I felt the power difference between us was too great, so I didn't dare to attack. But I know this thing isn't over. And I don't mean that we should be going to find him, but that he might come for us." Chapter 790, Bait. Chapter 790, Bait might dare to come for me before I get to him. After a long while, Di Dongbing asked to be sure. Di Tsifeng nodded. "It's not whether he dares or not, he will come for sure. The only reason why he didn't talk too much with me before was probably because he had only just found his daughter." Di Dongbing's face sunk. He knew his niece's power. Someone whom she can't even beat was definitely strong. It was a joke to try to capture someone like that through police. "How old is he? Even you're no match for him. Is he at the yellow level tertiary stage?" Di Dongbing had to know what sort of opponent he was facing. Di Tsifeng replied, "He looks like he's in his 20s, but he sliced the bottom of my shoes without me noticing at all. I'm sure that if he wanted to slice my legs off, I wouldn't be able to keep my legs. He's definitely not just at the yellow level, he's at least at the black level." That strong. Di Dongbing's heart was getting cold. It was no joke to offend a black level master. His Bao Shi Hall wasn't small and might be the overlord here, but any black level could easily annihilate the hall. Not to mention, those who cultivate ancient martial arts have very little care for the law. If someone like that wanted to annihilate the Bao Shi Hall, even the government wouldn't be able to stop them in time. But if he was prepared, then even a black level wouldn't be able to easily annihilate his Bao Shi Hall. At the same time though, he wouldn't have the strength to kill the man either. Di Dongbing gasped. He didn't expect to casually offend someone like this today. No wonder he was so restless all day. But was he just going to let his son get beaten like that and not get revenge? Uncle Bing, don't worry too much. This is all just my guess. It's very rare for someone to reach black level before 30. Besides, even if he is black level, the Bao Shi Hall doesn't have to fear him, Di Caifeng said. Di Dongbing nodded. I'm not scared. Although we don't have black levels, we're not just for show either. Now that I'm prepared, if he dares to come to Bao Shi Hall, I will make sure there will be no return for him. I might lose a few brothers at most. But if we tried to go capture him, it would be much harder. Di Caifeng mused for a moment before saying, my master will come tonight, and I've received news that he has reached the earth level. Caifeng, your master reached the earth level? Di Dongbing stood up in joy. If Caifeng's master dealt with this cocky youth, then they didn't need to worry about anything. Di Caifeng knew what her uncle was thinking and said worriedly, although master agreed to take me in as a formal disciple, I'm not one yet. Master is from the hidden sects, so even if I become his formal disciple, I can't ask him to attack people as soon as I see Di Dongbing suddenly laughed bleakly and interrupted, don't worry Caifeng, I've prepared a big gift for him, and we should be able to get it soon. This gift will move him for sure. What is it? Di Caifeng asked. Luminous pearl, Di Dongbing said word by word. What? A luminous pearl? Even Di Caifeng stood up in shock. I've sent Lipping to take care of it. He should have finished the job by now. Di Dongbing got up and remembered that Lu Lipping had been gone for 2 hours already. Why was there still no news of him? Di Dongbing immediately called Lu Lipping, but all he heard was a blank tone. The next moment, Di Dongbing felt something must be up. Lu Lipping wouldn't shut his phone without his approval. And if something happened to his phone, he would report it to him immediately. What's going on? Di Caifeng noticed something was wrong too. I can't reach Lipping, which should be impossible. He should just be taking something from an ordinary person. Di Dongbing frowned. Di Caifeng immediately asked, where did he get the news of the luminous pearl? How precious is a luminous pearl? How could he easily get news of it? Di Dongbing's face also went serious, and he called 2 men to search for Lu Lipping immediately. Then, he replied, he got the news from a taxi driver who heard it when driving a father and daughter. Di Caifeng asked with a frown. Yes, Di Dongbing then repeated what Lu Lipping told him. Di Caifeng heard this and said more carefully, Uncle Bing, if I'm not wrong, that father and daughter are the people I was talking about. The taxi driver met them not too long ago, and he picked them up from the Haishaw High School entrance. I'm almost certain that this is the man who beat Diz up. I didn't think things would be so coincidental. But now that I think of it, it's normal for someone like that to have the luminous pearl. Di Dongbing took a cold breath in and looked at Di Caifeng in shock. Then that means that Lu Lipping and company are already. Di Caifeng nodded. If it was really that person, then they might not be in a good state. Although he hasn't come looking for us yet, I'm sure he will at night. Di Dongbing's heart went cold. He felt that things didn't seem so simple, and they weren't under his control. Suddenly, his phone rung. What? Di Dongbing's men's report shook him again. What is it? Di Caifeng asked. Di Dongbing put the phone down in defeat. Lu Lipping and company's van was found by the side of a road, with 4 piles of ash and a few burned guns inside. Hearing this, Di Caifeng also frowned. After a long while, she sighed, Uncle Bing, this isn't something we can settle. But luckily the luminous pearl is still on him. When my master comes tonight, I will tell him. Even if my master doesn't need it, he wouldn't let something that precious go by him. Di Dongbing suddenly looked 10 years older. We can only do that. It would be best if your master is willing to be involved. Sigh, I'm just afraid I'll go have a look at Di Hua first. Di Caifeng knew that her uncle was worried that her master wouldn't be willing to be involved, or that that man was also related to the hidden sects. But she wasn't worried at all, because she knew her master would definitely get involved for the sake of the luminous pearl. Although Yi Mo had lived at Ninghai for quite some time, he didn't really know many good restaurants. He almost only knew the Ninghai University restaurant and the Westlake restaurant. So Yi Mo took them to Grand Delicacy, one other restaurant he knew. It was closer to where Yimo was, and he had gone there once with Ning Qingxue. That meal, Yimo had spent all the money he had on him. The dishes were expensive, but they tasted nice. Although Yimo didn't really like it, Yimo was really excited about eating out, so he had to take her to a good place. Chapter 791, Marrow Refining. Chapter 791, Marrow Refining Grand Delicacy was a rather high-caliber restaurant in Ninghai, and many wealthy people ate there. Yimo and the girls caught the eyes of many people as soon as they came in. Although Song Yangzhu was in a really weak state, after seeing Yimo, she had cleaned herself and now showed her special temperament again. Seeing Song Yangzhu look down, Yimo pulled her hand. She knew that Yimo wanted to tell her that she shouldn't care. Song Yangzhu recovered a little, thinking that she would only stay with Yimo for a bit. At most until Yimo's life stabilized, after which she would leave Yimo. Yimo didn't mind, and the reason why he hadn't cured her yet was because he was planning to not only recover her youth but also refine her bone marrow. Before that, he didn't want to casually treat her. Yimo called for a room. Facing a table full of delicious food, Yimo forgot about wanting to cultivate and focused on eating while urging her mother to eat. Song Yangzhu ate very little, but she was very happy seeing that Yimo was happy. She had been living a hard life these years, but she did come from a wealthy family after all. Dad, was this where you lived before? Mom seemed to have shown me this place once, Yimo said outside Yimo's house in Ninghai. Song Yangzhu's eyes went red. She remembered she took Yimo there once when she was only 5, and yet she still remembered. Yimo patted Song Yangzhu's hand and said to Yimo, "Yes, Daddy used to live here." Yimo took them inside. The flower pots didn't have a lot of weed, and the house was cleaned rather well. Yimo could tell that there were frequent visitors here. It was either Su Jingwen or Yun Bing. But they were both not there at the moment, and Yimo didn't use his spirit sense to search for them either. Seeing the flower pot, Yimo sighed. It seemed like every woman related to him had been to this house except for Xiaoyun. Yimo went inside the house and used a few cleaning spells before saying to Yimo, "Sleep in the west room tonight. I need to treat your mother's wounds, so don't disturb us if there's nothing important." Yimo meant what he said, but both Yimo and Song Yangzhu misunderstood him. Yimo poked her tongue out and made a face at Yimo as she agreed. Then, she snuck into the west room. She thought that there must be a lot of things Dad and Mom want to talk about. It wasn't good for her to be in between them. Song Yangzhu blushed seeing her daughter leave. She thought she was prepared for what Yimo was planning, but she wasn't mentally prepared at all. Mentally, she was still the same girl as a decade ago. She wanted to sleep with Yimo and Yimo together, but when she opened her mouth, she didn't end up calling her daughter. In the depth of her heart, she also wanted to talk to Yimo privately. But even still, she was very anxious. To her, it felt like it would be her first time, as the last time she wasn't really conscious. Seeing Yimo walk into the room, she felt a little worried. "What are you hesitating about? Come in," Yimo called out to her. Song Yangzhu was a little worried, so she rubbed her clothes and said after a while, "Should I go take a shower first?" Yimo pulled her in. "No need, you can do that later. Take these pills and take off your clothes before laying on the bed." Yimo gave a face-preserving pill to Song Yangzhu and said. Song Yangzhu hesitated and didn't take the pill from Yimo. However, she did take off all her clothes and closed her eyes as she crossed her arms on her chest and laid on the bed. Yimo looked at Song Yangzhu, who still had that snow-white skin, and a burning intensity rose in his stomach. This was the second time he saw the naked Song Yangzhu, but the first time, he didn't have such desires at all. Although Song Yangzhu was skinny, her chest was still really big, even a little bigger than Xiaoyun's. Yimo realized that the reason why she could still keep such a body was her foundation in ancient martial arts. Yimo had only meant for her to take off her outer clothing. Why did she take off all her clothes? Yimo didn't think too much about it. Song Yangzhu was his woman anyways, so it was fine. He gave the pill to Song Yangzhu and said, "Open your mouth and eat the pill." Song Yangzhu opened her eyes with a blushing face and said, "I don't need to eat it, I should be fine. You can go ahead." Yimo looked confusedly at Song Yangzhu and said, "This is a face-preserving pill. I want to treat your wounds and can even refine your bone marrow for you. It would be more effective if you ate this pill before we start dash, but Yimo didn't finish and understood what Song Yangzhu meant. Immediately, love and care welled up in his heart. Song Yangzhu had probably misunderstood him. Although she was weak, she didn't reject him and took all her clothes off. Yimo leaned down and whispered into Song Yangzhu's ear, "Thank you, Yangzhu, since you've seen Luo Ying and Qingxue, I want you to be like them, someone by my side. I'll treat your wounds first and then." Song Yangzhu finally understood that Yimo was really trying to treat her wounds. Thinking about how extraordinary Yimo was, she immediately knew that Yimo wasn't tricking her. Although she had misunderstood him, she didn't feel awkward at all due to Yimo's attitude. She didn't even put her clothes back on. The face-preserving pill gradually spread its influence throughout Song Yangzhu's body. Yimo then put a lotus life pill in her mouth. If he were just purely treating her wounds, Song Yangzhu wouldn't need to take off her clothes at all. But he had decided to refine Song Yangzhu's marrow too. When the two pills started applying their effects inside Song Yangzhu's body, Yimo took out 360 golden needles and started piercing Song Yangzhu's chakra points, helping her organize her meridians. Yimo even took out 12 spirit stones and made a simple spirit kai gathering formation in case he was lacking in cultivation essence. Song Yangzhu fell asleep as soon as Yimo inserted the needles. Even though Yimo was stage 8 middle level and was about to reach the tertiary level, he couldn't finish refining her marrow that easily yet. Luckily Song Yangzhu was already an ancient martial artist, so her meridians were much easier to unblock than normal people's, or he would have to use many times the effort. When Yimo removed all of the impurities in her body, he was so tired he didn't have any energy left. All the spirit kai inside the 12 spirit stones had been used up. Yimo looked at Song Yangzhu, who was fast asleep on the bed, and felt a sense of accomplishment. She recovered her looks from her prime, and her hair was also black again. Due to the face-preserving pill, she was even prettier than in her prime. Although her power only returned to the yellow-level tertiary stage, Yimo didn't plan on letting her keep cultivating ancient martial arts anyway. Chapter 792, Fiery Song Yangzhu. Chapter 792, Fiery Song Yangzhu. When Song Yangzhu woke up, she immediately noticed that she was fully naked and was shook. As a woman who didn't have a husband, she had always been very careful. She wasn't used to sleeping by someone's side, so it took her a moment to realize what was going on. When she turned and saw Yimo still sleeping by her side, though, she immediately felt relieved. But soon, she felt that something was different. Her body had become light, and her power had also reached the yellow-level tertiary stage. She could easily reach the black level again. All her wounds had disappeared, and she found that her hands were smooth and silky like 10 years ago. Song Yangzhu quickly grabbed her hair, and what appeared before her eyes were pure black silky strands. She remembered that Yimo said he was going to treat her last night. Was his treatment this powerful? Song Yangzhu could no longer keep calm. She knew all this was real. Yimo could even fly, what couldn't he do? Was he really an immortal? No woman wouldn't care about her beauty. No woman didn't want to show her prettiest side to the person she liked. She was no different, and Yimo had truly returned to her what she had lost. In her excitement and joy, she embraced Yimo and kissed him. For the first time, Yimo hadn't chosen to cultivate to recover his cultivation essence and had chosen to sleep instead. When Song Yangzhu hugged him, he immediately woke up. Looking at her joyful face, he was also very satisfied. She had found her confidence again and went back to the old Song Yangzhu. "Thank you, Yimo." Song Yangzhu couldn't contain her excitement and kissed Yimo's lips. Yimo had been separated from Mu Xiaoyun for so long and hadn't seen Luo Ying and Ning Qingxue. Now that he was being wildly kissed by the naked Song Yangzhu, how could he resist it? Song Yangzhu's fire ignited his inner fire in turn, and to his surprise Song Yangzhu was so fierce that he couldn't even get on top of her. When she enveloped his rod of fire, she frowned as it seemed a little painful at first, but that pain was soon gone, and she moaned in satisfaction. The moon rose higher and higher until it was almost daylight before Song Yangzhu finally got off Yimo in exhaustion. She squirmed in Yimo's arms, and it was as though that crazy woman and Song Yangzhu were two different people. Seeing that Yimo wasn't asking her why she had been so fiery, she couldn't resist to say, "You took the initiative that day, so this time, it was my turn to take the initiative. Yimo understood now, and he rubbed Song Yangju's hair apologetically. They had 2 little memories together. The thing on the mountain was the only one worth remembering. To be honest, I was innocent that day. You took the initiative then too. You. The 2 no longer had the mood to sleep. Perhaps due to the fierce battle during the night, Song Yangju no longer kept the distance she had when she first saw Yimo. Only now did she make up her mind to stay with Yimo and not just let Yimo stay with Yimo while she left. I'm sorry, Yimo apologized to Song Yangju in his arms. Firstly because he had annihilated the Song family, and secondly because he let her live like this by herself. Song Yangju put her finger on Yimo's lips. She knew what Yimo meant, but the Song family had been too cocky. While she had tried to get revenge, the other members even just stole the fortune and left, and no one had thought about her. Meanwhile, Yimo saved her many times and became her husband. She had long since forgotten about the business between him and the Song family. Where did your wounds come from? Yimo asked. Song Yangju hesitated before saying slowly, when I was pregnant with Yimo, I went to Jing City. On a snowy day, I fell at the bottom of Emai Mountain. Sister Shan Yu from around there saved me and took me up to the Emai Mosque. After I heard about your news, I took Yimo to Beijing, but then I heard you were at Flowing Snake, so I took Yimo there. When I got there, however, I realized you had gone to Luoyu. Luckily, Luoyu had just finished the war, and the docks were open for migration, so I went there with Yimo. Song Yangju still felt a little pain thinking about the arduous journey she had. Sorry, Yangju, when I saw your figure leave that day, it seemed familiar, but I didn't think carefully who it might have been. If I had, you wouldn't have gone through so much suffering. Yimo was very regretful. Song Yangju shook her head and knew that she had left no special feeling in Yimo's heart. She had never blamed Yimo for anything, as without Yimo, even though they had slept together, there wouldn't have been any special connection between them. I didn't have a place to go after leaving Luoyu, so I went back to Emai Mosque, but I saw Sister Shan Yu's and 2 other nuns' bodies there. I quickly buried them and wanted to take Yimo to leave, when Song Yangju's face looked scared, recounting everything, as though the event of that day was still too scary. Yimo sent some Kai into her body to calm her down. Song Yangju felt she was still in Yimo's arms and gradually calmed down a little, but her tone was still shaky. I just managed to walk up to the door when I was stopped by a black figure. He had no face, his face was like a skeleton and full of craters. I didn't dare to move at all. Yimo frowned. He thought of someone who also didn't have a face, that Yang Wuliang at the auction on the ship, but he had killed him after the auction. His voice was like a ghost's, and I was worried for Yimo, so I struck at him with a wooden stick in my panic, and for some reason, I actually hit him. That man groaned and something was seemingly beaten out of him, but the bracelet on Yimo emitted some light and stopped that thing. I didn't dare to fight him and quickly took Yimo to run. However, at that moment, that man kicked the wooden stick back, and it hit my back. I spat blood but didn't dare to stay, so I left Emai Mountain as quickly as possible. Luckily, that person didn't chase after me, and I fled to Ninghai with Yimo. Chapter 793, Yimo's Danger. Chapter 793, Yimo's Danger. The more Yimo listened, the more he felt like that black figure was the same type of person as the Yang Wuliang he met. Yang Wuliang was from the All-Gu sect. Everyone in that sect was a Gu master, so even if he was injured, he wouldn't let Song Yangju escape. Yimo frowned and felt something wasn't right. Song Yangju was injured and weak, but she didn't have any Gu planted in her. Yimo was certain of this. Yimo also seemed very healthy. What's wrong? Song Yangju saw Yimo frown and asked worriedly. Yimo put his hand on Song Yangju's back and ran his cultivation essence through her body again to check. He didn't find anything wrong. Song Yangju's body felt hot after that search, and she subconsciously hugged Yimo tighter. Yimo patted her back and said, "Let me go check Yimo too." Because that person might be from the All-Gu sect, Yimo didn't feel safe and wanted to properly check Yimo. What's wrong with Yimo? Song Yangju was shook. To her, Yimo was much more important than herself. Yimo said seriously, "I suspect the person you saw was from the All-Gu sect." Everyone from that sect is inhumane and unreasonable, and they're very good at controlling Gu. I need to check if Yimo is fine. Seeing Yimo leave, Song Yangzhu immediately became worried. She had heard about the All-Gu sect from her master before. It wasn't a big hidden sect, but it was in Miaojiang, and because their means were so unpredictable, even the big 6 sects didn't want any enmity with them. "You're up already? Did you not sleep?" Yimo walked in and asked Yimo. "Dad, you're here, I just woke up. Are you going to teach me cultivation?" Yimo asked. Yimo smiled, "I will teach you for sure, but I'm busy today. Why don't you go out with your mom and buy some clothes?" "Then where's Mom?" Yimo asked. "She will come over in a bit. Show me your wrist for now. Let me check how your body is." Yimo checked Yimo's face first. It wasn't very healthy, but it wasn't sickly either. She gave out her hand without hesitation. Yimo carefully searched all her chakra points and meridians with his cultivation essence, but he didn't find anything even after searching twice. Yimo breathed easy. Yimo should be fine. It seemed that the person was too heavily injured and the bracelet protected them. Just when Yimo was going to take back his hand, he heard Yimo exclaim, "Mom, you." Yimo held her mouth and looked at Song Yangzhu in disbelief. Her mother became this young and beautiful. Was this her mother? She didn't seem this pretty 10 years ago. It must be Dad using immortal magic to treat Mother. Yimo looked at her dad again, and her eyes were full of stars. She had to learn these things from Dad. Meanwhile, when Yimo screamed, Yimo felt something different on her. "Mom, you're so pretty. You can be my big sister now. No, my younger sister," Yimo praised. She wanted her mom to relax. She could tell her mom looked younger, but her eyes were still tense. Song Yangzhu walked over and sat down by the bed asking Yimo worriedly, "How is it? Is Yimo fine?" Yimo was checking Yimo's body for the 3rd time and didn't reply to Song Yangzhu. His face grew worse and worse. He was sure that something was done to Yimo, but it wasn't a live Gu. This thing was just a mark. Yimo was sure that the perpetrator had to have been no weaker than Ren Sho, perhaps even stronger. "What's wrong?" Song Yangzhu asked worriedly. "Has Yimo been sicklish all these years or ever shown anything out of the ordinary?" Yimo asked. Song Yangzhu shook her head. She actually felt Yimo was lucky as she rarely got sick. But thinking for a while, Song Yangzhu said, "Yimo does get headaches every now and then, but each time she has a headache, I buy her a black chicken and make a stew with Tian Ma for her. She then always gets better a week later. This happens about 3 times a year." Yimo heard this and was sure that Yimo had something more powerful than Gu bugs planted on her. Something called a pill Gu. A Gu master would plant a pill Gu into someone's body, best if it was a child. The pill Gu would do no harm to the body before it matured, but the day that it matured, it would kill the host and devour all of its life force and essence blood, forming into a pill-like Gu. The master would then use this Gu to make a pill for his cultivation. Rarely anyone used this due to the time frame it took to mature. Pilgus usually matured after 18 years. This meant that when Yimo turned 20, the Gu master would come retrieve the Gu. Hearing this, both Song Yangzhu and Yimo were shook. It seemed that if the black-clothed man hadn't wanted Song Yangzhu to raise Yimo until she was 20, the both of them would have been dead. "Then what do we do?" Song Yangzhu was so worried she was about to cry. Yimo patted Song Yangzhu and Yimo saying, "Don't worry, I can get it out. Yimo, lay on your mom and turn your back to me." It was very hard to plant a pill Gu, and even harder to take it out, but to Yimo, it was still rather easy. This pill Gu was near Yimo's right shoulder. Yimo sealed all directions it could escape to and sliced open an area of her shoulder. At the same time, his cultivation essence enveloped a pea-sized thing and put it into a vase he prepared beforehand. After this, he gave Yimo a lotus life pill and checked her carefully, making sure there was no problem, before finally feeling assured. Only Yimo could have the privilege of eating a lotus life pill for such a minor injury. Song Yangzhu saw Yimo take out the Gu and finally patted her chest in relief. "I was so scared. I didn't expect there would be such bleak people in this world." Meanwhile, Yimo was raging with killing intent on the inside. He didn't care about Yang Wuliang's metal card anymore after going into the small world, but now it seemed he needed to go to Miaojiang and annihilate that all Gu Sec. Chapter 794, Di Dongbing's Guest. Chapter 794, Di Dongbing's guest. Song Yangzhu looked at the Gu bug in disgust. Burn the bottle please, it's uncomfortable to look at. If she hadn't told Yimo about what happened and he hadn't checked Yimo, this pill Gu would end up taking Yimo's life. She felt scared just thinking about it. Yimo shook his head. I can't annihilate this Gu yet. If I do, the owner would notice. I need to use this Gu to find its master first. I won't let it go like this. Then, Yimo gave Song Yangzhu a card. There's some money in this card, the password is all ones. You can go buy some things with Yimo while I take care of some things. To Yimo, if it was just the Di Hua incident, he wouldn't go look for trouble with the Baoshi Hall, but how dare they try to scheme for the luminous pearl? This was what awakened his killing intent. Everyone liked treasures, but even with Yimo's power, he didn't go around killing people and robbing them as soon as he wanted something. Dad, do you have a lot of money in the card? Can I buy whatever I want? Yimo immediately asked. She had long since wanted a Luoyu brand phone, but she'd never told her mother. Before Yimo could reply, Song Yangzhu patted her head. Of course, you can buy the entire mall if you like. Song Yangzhu knew who Yimo was, the founder of Luoyu. If he wasn't rich, then no one in this world was rich. The most core place of Baoshi Hall was the Baoshi meeting area. This was also the most luxurious place in Ninghai. The big boss of Baoshi Hall was very restless today, because they were about to welcome their most precious guest, an Earth-level ancient martial artist from the hidden sects. But the more he waited anxiously, the later the guest came. He didn't dare to leave the place, though, and at exactly 2 a.m., the guest arrived. Despite the time, Di Dongbing and his niece Di Caifeng still stayed and had two beautiful maids serve the guest. The guest looked like he was only in his 40s, but Di Dongbing knew that this man was at least 60. In front of this guest, Di Dongbing no longer had that condescending temperament. He carefully talked with this guest, and Di Caifeng was even more polite and obedient. She helped the guest peel a mango while talking to him. Not bad, you went from the yellow-level primary stage to almost the tertiary stage. You have some talent. It seems you can come back with me to the hidden sects to cultivate. A pity you started cultivation too late. If only it was 10 years earlier. The guest took the mango and said, Thank you, Master, my luck came too late. If I met Master earlier, perhaps I'd be at the yellow-level tertiary stage already, Di Caifeng said. Ha ha ha, the guest laughed. He knew why he really took her in as a disciple. First was because her talent was good, but the main reason was because Di Dongbing had given him a very important herb that allowed him to reach the earth level. He came here wanting to take her into the hidden sects and also to see if she had any more good herbs. Di Dongbing had never cultivated ancient martial arts, but he was very perceptive. He could easily tell what the guest wanted. Peiqianbei, Wanbei feels that there must be more of those herbs, so I've sent people to Wuyi Mountain to look for more. If we find some, we will contact Qianbei immediately. Small matter. The guest waved his hand as though he didn't care about the gift at all. Di Caifeng casually mentioned, if we could bring that luminous pearl now, we could put it in Master's bedroom, so Caifeng, that luminous pearl is only for show. Since we don't have it yet, we should focus on Dash. However, Di Dongbing was immediately interrupted by the guest. A luminous pearl? Are you sure? A luminous pearl was so valuable that even an earth level couldn't ignore it, much less someone who had only just reached the earth level. Di Dongbing rejoiced. Even someone like that cared about the luminous pearl after all. He immediately said, Yes, Peiqianbei, it is a luminous pearl indeed. It was mine already, and I was planning on using it as a gift for Caifeng becoming your disciple, but what? The guest was clearly impatient. Di Dongbing immediately said, I already bought that luminous pearl and paid the money, but unlucky for me, the kid of my family goes to the same school as the kid of the family who has the pearl. They had some conflict and coincidentally, the dad of the kid came back and heavily beat up my son and now doesn't want to sell me the luminous pearl anymore. Di Dongbing sighed and continued, I suspect the main reason why he doesn't want to sell it to me is because he knows that it's a luminous pearl now. Hearing this, the middle-aged man frowned. Although he spent most of his time cultivating, he wasn't an idiot. He suddenly looked at Di Dongbing and said, "You have your Baoshi Hall, and I heard you have a lot of masters there. Even if you killed someone in this area, it should be fine, so why would you fear an ordinary family? With your status, how can you not get revenge from someone who beat your son so heavily?" Di Dongbing subconsciously shivered. He had heard his niece say that her master cultivated too much and didn't understand the world that much, but it didn't seem so now. He quickly replied, "That man seems very strong actually, and Saifeng suspects he's an ancient martial artist too, but we're not too sure." The middle-aged man looked at Di Saifeng. Di Saifeng quickly added, "When that man beat my cousin, I just arrived at the scene. I felt like I was no match for him. If he was going to keep attacking, I would attack too, but he didn't, so I didn't provoke him. I was afraid that if he had some strong background it would cause trouble for master." The middle-aged man nodded approvingly. But this disciple of his was a bit too careful. An earth-level cultivator was already a master at the hidden sects. How could he be afraid of any ancient martial artist from the mortal world? Di Saifeng didn't know the power of earth-level, though, so that's why she was this careful. "How old is he?" the man still asked. "He looks to be in his 20s, Di Saifeng answered. Hearing this, the man felt completely reassured. Younger than 30, no matter how genius he would be at most at the black-level primary stage. However, Di Saifeng purposely didn't tell him about her shoe getting sliced off out of fear that her master would become too careful. Di Dongbing continued, "Yes, Saifeng said that person was rather strong, and it wasn't easy to set up this Baoshi Hall of mine, so I will count myself happy as long as he doesn't come for me. I wouldn't dare to find him instead." "Oh, do you think he might come over?" the guest looked at Di Dongbing and asked. Di Dongbing nodded, "Yes, I was afraid he would come at night actually, but now it's day and he still isn't here, so I guess I was thinking too much. Peiqianbei, it must have been a long journey for you. How about Cai Feng takes you to rest first?" The guest smiled, "There's no such thing as rest for me. Since that cocky kid isn't here, then I'll go over and check him out. A luminous pearl, I also want to see it." Chapter 795, The Hidden Sect's Danger. Chapter 795, The Hidden Sect's Danger. When Yimo arrived at the Baoshi Hall, his first thought was that the big boss of this place was really scared of death. This was just a meeting ground, yet there were about 30 bodyguards both in plain sight and hidden all over. Although these bodyguards couldn't threaten him at all, Yimo wasn't going to be nice now that he was there. Other than the 2 guards at the gate, he controlled all the bodyguards and dumped them to one corner. "It's this late, yet you're still not asleep. Are you discussing my luminous pearl, or are you waiting for me perhaps?" Yimo suddenly said. Hearing this, everyone got up and looked at the door. Di Dongbing was stunned the most. He didn't know how Yimo could have come in at all. He had a whole bunch of bodyguards, and none of them had reported anything. But Di Dongbing had been through a lot of things and soon calmed down. "You're the person who beat up my son so heavily. What enmity do I have with you? You were so cruel, yet I didn't go find you, but you actually came to me," Di Dongbing said hatefully. "Master, it's him." Di Saifeng thought about what happened yesterday and was also annoyed. But when she saw her master, she immediately swallowed the words she was about to say and looked at her master in disbelief. Her master was kneeling on the ground and shaking. What was going on? Yimo also felt very strange that there was an earth level here. How could there be this level of master in Ninghai? However, this earth level knelt down in front of him, so he clearly knew him. Di Dongbing also saw this eerie scene, and his mouth was wide open like Di Saifeng's. He immediately realized that he seemed to have messed with someone he couldn't mess with. Even Saifeng's master, an earth-level cultivator, was kneeling and shivering in front of this person. Who was he? He didn't dare to even wage a guess anymore, and the next moment, he quickly pulled Di Saifeng to kneel down with him. He had survived until that day not only because he had power, but also because he had the brains to recognize the situation. Yimo ignored the two and walked up to the earth level, asking coldly, "You know me?" The earth level was still shaky and quickly replied, yes, Qianbei, this Wanbei is called Peiyang, I am from the Qishan sect. Qishan sect. Yimo frowned and really couldn't remember a sect called the Qishan sect. How do you know me? I don't have any impression of you, Yimo asked after thinking for a moment. Peiyang quickly replied, more than 10 years ago, I saw Qianbei once at the Hidden Sects tournament on Broken Top Mountain. Qianbei showed your almighty power on the stage and slaughtered that invader, promoting the dominance of our country. I've long since admired Qianbei. Peiyang didn't feel his words to be cringy at all. He had heard of Yimo's legendary stories. If Yimo could even annihilate a behemoth of the hidden sects like the Gourd Cave, then he wasn't even an ant to him. Yimo nodded. No wonder he knew him. You're here to help the Baoshi Hall? Yimo asked coldly. Peiyang subconsciously shivered and quickly said, no, Wanbei is not here for this. I'm preparing to go to the Hidden Sects Earth-level meeting to discuss the danger to the Hidden Sects. At that moment, 2 guns sounded all of a sudden. Yimo's spirit sense had already noticed a bulky youth run in with a gun, and the 2 guards at the door had been shot down by him. Di Dongbing heard this, and his face grew worse. He wanted to stand up immediately but couldn't, as he had never knelt down for so long in his life. That youth rushed into the guest hall and was dazed by the scene in front of him. He knew who Di Dongbing was all too clearly, yet someone like him was kneeling down to someone. He had waited a whole night to kill him, but he didn't come out all. He had to leave Ninghai immediately, so he charged in to kill Di Dongbing even if it could mean his death. The youth also felt like it had been surprisingly easy to come in, and that seemed to be related to this young man in front of him. He ignored Yimo and just started shooting away at Di Dongbing. The more bullets he sprayed, the crazier he became. Di Dongbing had never thought that he would die like this, killed by an ant. He really didn't how his heavily guarded meeting place didn't even have anyone to report when people kept coming in. It was acceptable when someone that Sifeng's master even feared came in, but what about this ordinary kid? Uncle. Di Sifeng called out and rushed over, wanting to hold Di Dongbing up. It's you. Di Sifeng then recognized the youth and looked at him angrily. She would have charged up already if he didn't have a gun in his hand. The youth also looked at Di Sifeng furiously. I've killed that animal Di Dongbing, but you're a butcher too. My sister's death is also related to you, ha ha ha. Then, the youth sprayed bullets at Di Sifeng. Hey, why did you kill him? Yimo scanned the youth and asked. He didn't stop the youth from killing, but if he couldn't give an appropriate reason for killing under his watch, Yimo wouldn't mind letting this youth die too. The youth saw Di Sifeng fall in a pool of blood, and the madness in his eyes gradually dissipated. If she had been just getting close to me for my family's land and wealth, I wouldn't mind even if she tricked it all away, because I really loved her. But this devil-hearted woman not only helped the Baoshi Hall take everything I had, she also wouldn't even let my little sister go. Madness appeared in the youth's eyes again. Yimo waved his hand. Okay then, you've killed them and gotten your revenge. Now leave, don't interrupt my business here. Di Sifeng must have given this kid's sister to Di Hua, and she probably died in his hands. The youth looked strangely at Yimo once. He knew Yimo was no ordinary person from how Di Dongbing had been kneeling on the ground. Thank you. I'm Feng Chen, may we meet again. He felt that the reason why he had been so successful today was definitely related to this person. He could also feel that the man didn't fear his gun. He didn't have any enmity with him anyway, so he saluted with his fist and left. Yimo actually had a strange feeling about this Feng Chen. The fellow had a strange aura about him that felt familiar to Yimo. He didn't keep thinking, though, and looked at Peiyang who was kneeling on the ground and asked, what is this danger to the hidden sects you mentioned? Chapter 796, Old Friend in Trouble. Chapter 796, Old Friend in Trouble. Peiyang immediately replied, the hidden sects have always stayed hidden. What is more, after a few sects offended Qianbei more than 10 years ago, the hidden sects have been even more hidden. Even the tournament has changed to be held in one of the hidden sects' places. But these last years, many hidden sects have just disappeared strangely and not a single person was left behind. Yimo frowned. He knew the power of the hidden sects. If he hadn't been a truth cultivator, it would be a dream to put up a fight against the hidden sects. What kind of person could make the hidden sects disappear? And many of them. Peiyang continued, when the Lianhangjing Mosque and Guanghang sect disappeared, no one cared and it was said that they had moved to Luoyu. But these few years, more sects disappeared strangely, such as Shendu sect, Yizhen sect, Meng family. They were all annihilated in one night. Moreover, the disciples died in all sorts of ways. Even 36 Rivers hearing this, Yimo's eyes narrowed. What happened to 36 Rivers? The sect leader Zheng Zhangxia, who had stood up for Yimo without hesitation when he had conflict with Xiong Mingwang, was his friend. Yimo wasn't just going to sit and watch when something had happened to 36 Rivers. Peiyang knew that Gourd Cove's annihilation was related to Yimo, so he didn't dare to mention that. However, he was aware that Yimo was friends with Zheng Zhangxia. Hence, since something had happened to 36 Rivers, he knew that Yimo hadn't done it. Peiyang said immediately, 36 Rivers was also attacked not long ago. Their HQ were completely destroyed. If their sect leader hadn't been at halfway Great Heaven and their disciples hadn't fought hard to escape, they would have all died. Yimo's expression sunk. Zheng Zhangxia must have suffered heavy losses. Yimo had been wondering if it could be the same people who had attacked Song Yangzhu, but now it didn't seem so. The black person was a Gu Mater and he had been by himself. For a sect like 36 Rivers to have to escape of, it couldn't just be one person. Why did these people want to annihilate all of the hidden sects? At this moment, the police sirens sounded. Yimo grabbed Peiyang and left the meeting room. Peiyang just felt his head spin for a bit and then somehow, he appeared in a park. Peiyang was shook. He felt like he had been flying, but it was daytime already. Could Yimo really fly? He feared Yimo even more, so he didn't dare to ask. Where is sect leader Zheng right now? Yimo asked. Peiyang replied at once. He took his 36 River disciples and escaped to Juming Academy. Because he was heavily injured, he sent his disciple to Luoyu asking for your protection. He wanted to move 36 Rivers to Luoyu. However, the disciples he sent had no news. Yimo's heart sunk. He thought of Dongfang Wang. When he had sent people there, it must have still been under the reign of the Dongfang family. The vice-sect leader of Juming Academy, Feng Qianbei, invited all Earth-level masters to gather at Kuan-Lun to discuss about this matter. Due to the severity of the issue, the Earth levels of the Heaven Squad will also be going. I came to Ninghai because Ninghai has flights to Liqing City. There are Juming Academy sect members there leading the way, Peiyang said carefully. Yimo nodded and gave a porcelain bottle to Peiyang. There's a pill here. Give it to sect leader Zheng for me when you get to Jingming Academy. Tell him I will go visit him after I've finished my business. Yes, Qianbei. Peiyang felt relieved. The fact that Yimo was telling him to take something to Zheng Zhangxia meant that Yi Qianbei no longer meant to kill him. When Peiyang took the bottle and looked up, he was shook even more. Yimo had long disappeared. Yimo knew the hidden sect's power all too well. Even the outer hidden sects were still strong. Any hidden sect that had managed to exist until now was no simple being and had their secret powers. Who was it that was so crazy to challenge the entire hidden sects and annihilate them one by one? Yimo scanned his spirit sense and saw Song Yangzhu and Yimo go into a shopping mall. He had gone to Ninghai to see Su Jingwen, but he hadn't seen her there. Instead, he had found Song Yangzhu and his daughter. He planned to take them back to Luoyu first before going to see Zheng Zhangxia to Juming Academy. Mom, why is there so much money on Dad's card? What business does he do? When Yimo saw so many zeros on the ATM, she asked. Song Yangzhu didn't know how to explain it to Yimo. She had always told Yimo that her dad was very capable. Yet, whenever she asked what Yimo did, she tried to avoid it in case she asked her to go look for her dad. Yimo, is your dad back? A girl the same age as Yimo saw her and immediately ran over to them. Yimo turned around and looked at this girl. She replied joyfully, Ninglan, how come are you here? Didn't you go to class today? The girl said happily, yes, I was worried about you yesterday afternoon when you didn't go to class. Did that DI guy do anything to you? Yimo shook her head. Yes, my dad came back yesterday, so he didn't dare do anything to me. Oh, why didn't you go to class today again? My dad came to Ninghai too, so I might be going back to Beijing. Oh, by the way, I heard your dad gave you a lot of money. Now you can buy that phone, Ninglan said. She was very close to Yimo. They both loved a certain kind of phone, but she knew Yimo didn't have the money to buy it, so she didn't buy it either. She was planning to get one for herself and Yimo since she was leaving. However now, it seemed Yimo would be buying it herself. Hillbillies who haven't seen any real money. My pocket money is more than what your dad gave you, a contemptuous voice sounded. Yimo frowned but didn't reply. She had learned to endure. She usually didn't say a thing until it touched her bottom line. Ninglan couldn't help but to say, Ning Zhenwu, what does this have to do with you? I can buy my own things. You don't need to come with me, go back first. Yimo, ignore him. Ning Wuzhen only looked 2 years older than Ninglan, but he was already 1.7 tall. He studied Yi Yimo in contempt and then shook his head, but he didn't talk nor leave. From his perspective, Yimo's dad couldn't be very rich just judging by the clothes she was wearing. Song Yangzhu wasn't going to argue with little kids. She pulled Yimo's hands and said, Yimo, let's go buy things. Perhaps your dad is already back. I'll go shopping with you guys. Auntie, you're really pretty. If Yimo hadn't called you mom, I would have thought you were her sister, Ninglan said. Yangzhu, a joyful voice interrupted them. Is it you? Song Yangzhu was also dazed when she saw the man who was coming. Chapter 797, Luo Yu's Purple Card. Chapter 797, Luo Yu's Purple Card. Strictly speaking, that man was her martial brother, Shu She. When she left the Heaven Squad, he was already at Earth-level primary stage. After 10 years, his skin looked even better than before. Martial sister Song. Shu She was more shocked. Song Yangzhu was much younger and prettier than before. She looked like a young girl in her 20s. Song Yangzhu was only 20 when she was part of the Heaven Squad. However, due to her cold complexion, she seemed older than she really was. Even so, Shu She still liked her. Yet Shu She knew he was pursuing something out of his reach, so he didn't think too much about her. However, his heart for Song Yangzhu hadn't changed. Ever since he had reached Earth level, he thought of her even more. Mom, who is he? Yimo looked at Shu She vigilantly. You're married already? Shu She looked at Yimo. He couldn't believe that Song Yangzhu was not only married, but that she had such a grown-up daughter. Song Yangzhu smiled and didn't reply to him. To her, the Song Yangzhu from the past was dead. Her master had disappeared without notice after the Song family got annihilated. She had had to use her own means to go to the hidden sex tournament and met Yimo there. Shu She didn't know at all what Song Yangzhu was thinking. But judging from their clothes, he immediately could tell that they weren't living very well. This meant that her husband wasn't very powerful. He didn't care at all if she was married or not. No matter who her husband was, he could crush him with one finger. Yangzhu, do you want to go back? Martial Uncle Wan is also back, Shu She said again. Song Yangzhu said plainly, Captain Shu, I'm buying some things with my daughter and I will be leaving with my husband later on. I'm no longer interested in returning to that place. Hearing Song Yangzhu call him captain, Shu She's expression didn't look too good. In the past, Song Yangzhu called him martial brother. Despite this, Shu She didn't leave immediately. He was at Earth Peak now and he was in no rush. Although he had had some women in the past years, they were just superficial flings. The moment he saw Song Yangzhu again, his heart reignited. No matter who her husband was, he had to get Song Yangzhu. Yangzhu, I got an invitation to go to a meeting at Juming Academy. If you're willing, you can come with me, Shu She continued. He was sure that Song Yangzhu knew how powerful Juming Academy was. The sect was like an insurmountable giant even to the squad leader of the Heaven Squad. Song Yangzhu smiled and took Yimo to the phone shop, but she didn't reply to Shu She at all. Her husband was Yimo and even if she had still been by herself, she wouldn't have wanted to talk to Shu She. She had seen all too well what sort of person he was. I want this phone. Yimo and Ninglan went to the counter. Use my card. Shusha offered his gold card. No need. Song Youngju took out the card Yimo had given her. Luo Yu's card. The attendant saw this and was dazed. Luo Yu's credit cards had a unique sign which had the two floating Luo Yu words. No country could counterfeit it. There were also colors on the rim of the card. There were many colors, but there was one color that only the city lord could use, and that was purple. That card happened to be purple too. As an employee of Luo Yu Corporation, they were all trained rigorously to recognize all sorts of cards before they started working. The card in that worker's hand was not only from Luo Yu, but also purple. She immediately became anxious. She had seen a picture of this card, but when she actually had it in her hands, she didn't dare to believe it. Their manager had said during training that they had to recognize this card, yet it was not likely they would see it. Ha ha ha. Did your dad get a fake card? Ning Wuzhen noticed the attendant wasn't talk while holding the card, so he scorned. Yimo and Ninglan also got a little confused. Yimo realized that their card really seemed to be different than other people's cards. The attendant bowed respectfully to Song Youngju and said, "Miss, hello, please wait a moment." Although she knew the card was real, she didn't dare make the decision and notified at once the shopping mall manager. Song Youngju hesitated and asked, "Doesn't this mall belong to Luo Yu?" "Yes," the attendant replied respectfully. "This is a shopping mall under Luo Yu's business faculty. Our head manager will come to greet you personally." Shusha also frowned. He had seen Luo Yu's cards before and Song Youngju had taken one out. After seeing how careful the attendant was Song Youngju's husband really from Luo Yu? If he was, then they shouldn't be that poor. Then, a woman ran over in a hurry. She seemed to be facing the biggest thing in her life. The attendant saw this woman and quickly walked up to her. "Manager Kui, this guest brought the card." The woman saw Song Youngju and her eyes lit up. She just looked at the card quickly and said, "May I ask for your surname?" Song Youngju smiled. "I'm Song Youngju, this is my daughter Yi Yimo." "Yi Yimo?" The woman looked at Yimo and her face drastically changed. "You're the wife of the president." Shusha heard this and expression didn't look too good. Song Youngju knew that president probably meant Yimo, but she wasn't too sure. However, someone did reply to her. "Yes, she's the president's wife. Shen Qianqian is quite capable, she has opened shopping malls everywhere." "Dad, you're here." Yimo heard this voice and ran to hug the person. "Hello, President, I'm Kui Yanxiu, the head manager for this shopping mall." The head manager immediately came up to greet Yimo and gave him the card back. Then she said, "Director Shen said that the president doesn't need to use a card in any of Luo Yu's shopping mall." Yimo was speechless. Since when had Shen Qianqian made this rule? He quickly waved his hand. "Swipe this card and tell Director Shen that from now on no one in Luo Yu can buy things without paying. Tell her I said this. If she finds out about anyone doing this, punish them heavily." "Yes," the head manager quickly said. Shusha's expression grew worse. He couldn't have thought that Song Youngju's husband was Yimo. How could Yimo be her husband? Chapter 798, Guest Right Indeed. Chapter 798, Guest Right Indeed. Instructor Yi, I really didn't expect to be able to see you here. Shusha wished he could kill Yimo. However, he knew that even if he had been at half-step great heaven, he would still be no match for Yimo. Shusha had thought that there was almost no one who could stop him from marrying a woman. Even if there were, it would be a few Qianbei of the hidden sects. But they wouldn't do such a thing. However, there was one more person to whom he didn't dare do anything, and that person was Yimo. Yet he was this unlucky, he liked Yimo's woman. He knew that if he didn't want to die, he had better stop because even there Yimo could kill him without any pressure. Yimo didn't know that Shusha desired Song Youngju. He thought it was normal that they were talking since they had both been from the Heaven Squad after all. He could guess that Shusha was there to go to the Juming Academy's meeting. But he didn't have a good impression of him at all. He waved his hand. "You can leave, you have no business here." "Yes." Shusha's face was green with anger. Yimo had treated him like one would blow a fly away, but he didn't dare do anything at all. "Dad, why did that auntie say you didn't need to pay?" Is this shopping mall yours? Why did Mom never tell me? Yimo asked. Yimo smiled. This shopping mall is connected to me, but it's not mine. As for free things, if I start this, there will be people that follow it. In time, the Luoyu shopping malls would be filled with parasites and bring corruption to other things. Yimo scanned the manager and said without concern, if there are really parasites like that in Luoyu, I wouldn't mind swatting them to death. The manager shook and said, yes, President. I will give your order to Director Shen. Yimo, I feel your dad is right, Ninglan said. Ning Wuzhen had wrongly estimated Yimo's identity and thus didn't dare to talk. He couldn't help to notice Yimo closely and then just realized she was a girl so pretty like he had never seen before. She didn't wear outstanding clothes, but her exquisite face and bright eyes made his heart beat quickly. He subconsciously looked at Yimo's mum and his heart beat even faster. Song Yangzhu not only had that beauty, but also had the maturity. Ning Wuzhen had heard he had a really pretty auntie who was once the prettiest girl in Beijing. What a pity. He hadn't seen her before, but he believed that Song Yangzhu's beauty was on par with that unseen auntie. Song Yangzhu was Yimo's mother, so he didn't need to think about it. However, Ning Zhenwu was now really interested in Yimo. Yimo's dad seemed to be a president and owned a shopping mall, but the Ning family owned more shopping malls. If he showed his family's wealth, perhaps Yimo's dad would look at him in different light and let his daughter get close to him. Thinking about this, Ning Zhenwu immediately said, actually, Ninglan, do you know how long you can stay this time at Beijing? Ninglan didn't know why he asked this, but she said, of course, I will be staying there permanently. Moreover, my mother doesn't like moving around. Ning Wuzhen said in satisfaction, you're wrong. Your dad probably won't be staying long in Beijing because my big uncle doesn't like your dad. This is why your dad doesn't have a share in the Ning family. If my dad hadn't requested it, your dad wouldn't even be able to go back to Beijing. Ning Zhenwu gloated, my family has a medicinal factory in the US and 2 shopping malls in Beijing. This is all because great-grandpa likes me the most. If I talk to my great-grandpa, perhaps he might give your family a company or something. Yimo suddenly looked at Ning Zhenwu and said, you're from the Beijing's Ning family? Of course, my great-grandpa is Beijing's Ning Fuzhen. Ning Zhenwu saw that Yimo had finally noticed him and immediately said this. His face was full of pride when he spoke of his great-grandpa. Even the rich and the famous in Beijing were very respectful to his great-grandpa. He nodded. He had been planning to find Ning Fuzhen and now he met someone from the Ning family. To him, the only one he had a good impression of from the Ning family was Ning Qingshue's dad, so he just nodded. Yimo, let's go buy our things and then go. Song Yangzhu could tell Yimo's dislike to Ning Zhenwu and immediately said. After buying things, Ninglan and Yimo separated. Ning Zhenwu wanted to ask for Yimo's contact details, but Yimo didn't like a person who looked down on her dad, so she ignored him. The first thing he did after bringing them home was test their spirit roots. The results didn't disappoint. Yimo. Song Yangzhu was a duo element, metal and water spirit root. Yimo was the metal and lightning dual spirit root. Yimo knew that Yimo had probably inherited the lightning spirit root from him, because people rarely had the mutated spirit root with a 5-element spirit root. Yimo explained cultivation to them carefully and taught them the primordial chaos chant. Then, he made 2 storage rings for them. He didn't make flying swords for them yet, he would do that after he reached foundation establishment state. Although Song Yangzhu and Yimo cultivated at the same time, Yimo was more than twice as fast as Song Yangzhu. This was partially due to the fact that Song Yangzhu rarely slept with Yimo in the past. So now that they stayed together, they spent most of the night rolling in the bed. Secondly, Yimo's spirit root was more suitable for the primordial chaos chant. 3 days passed quickly. Yimo took Song Yangzhu and Yimo back to Luoyu. When Song Yangzhu had first arrived to Luoyu, it was far from as developed as it was that day, but she wasn't too surprised seeing it. However, Yimo was very shocked. She had never seen a city as prosperous and beautiful as Luoyu. Dad, this place should be called Luoyu Immortal City. This place is really beautiful, Yimo sighed. Yimo was also happy that his daughter was happy. Yes, from now on Luoyu will be called Luoyu Immortal City. Shu Yuhua got news of his arrival as soon as he got there. She went to greet Yimo and the others, and she also agreed to Yimo's petition. "Brother, she's the one I told you." Yi Ling saw Song Yangzhu and recognized her immediately. Song Yangzhu also saw Yi Ling and greeted her. Yi Ling looked at Yimo and then looked at her brother. She went up and pinched Yimo's arm. "Brother, did you lie to me? You said you didn't." Yi Ling then looked at Yimo and then at Song Yangzhu. "Sister-in-law, I've thought about it with Beiwei for a long while. We felt you were our sister-in-law and it really seems to be so. Is this that little girl? She's so grown up now and pretty." Chapter 799, Ning Family. Chapter 799, Ning Family. After staying with Song Yangzhu and Yimo at Luoyu for 2 days, Yimo left Luoyu again. He was in no rush to go to Juming Academy, however. Zheng Zhengxia was injured, but with Yimo's Lotus Life Pill, he should be fine soon. Yimo first went to Beijing, because he wanted to see Ning Fusion and visit Han Zixin. He hadn't been able to save Zhongju and Li Hu. Yimo felt very guilty about it, but he had tried his best, and he had almost lost his life on that island too. Yimo went straight to the Ning family mansion first. 2 guards stopped Yimo, asking who he was, when noises came from the inside. "Ningyang, weren't you going to Luoyu? Why did you come back to Beijing?" "Oh, they didn't want you in. The Ning family isn't some place you can come and go as you please." A middle-aged man was pushing another person as he spoke coldly. "What right do you have to push my dad? He just came to visit great-grandpa. What's that got to do with you? Do you think we would want to come back to this trash place?" A girl's voice sounded, and she was going to pull the man who was pushed. "You dare call the Ning family mansion a trash place? You're asking to die." A crisp voice sounded, and a young girl was going to slap the other girl. The dad wanted to stop the girl, but he was also being held back, so he could only watch as his daughter was about to get slapped. Yimo sneered and walked up, grabbing the girl's wrist, easily throwing her far away. Yimo didn't use much force, so the girl only stumbled a few times and stood up. Yimo had recognized that the girl who was about to get slapped was Yimo's classmate, Ning Lan. He wasn't going to let Yimo's friend get slapped. "Uncle, it's you. What are you doing here? Is Yimo here too?" Ning Lan called out in joy. "Who are you? How dare you come here?" That young girl stood up and raged at Yimo. Then, she roared at the guards, "Are you dead people? Why did you let anyone come inside the mansion? Hurry up and capture him." "Wait." The man who was holding Ning Lan's dad back suddenly let go of Ning Yang and spoke politely. "May I ask if you are Yimo?" Yimo replied coldly, "Yes, I'm Yimo Yu. You really are Yimo City Lord Yi." The middle-aged man's voice became shaky. His tone and manners immediately became careful and reverent, as though it was a god standing before him. "You're Yimo? Is Qingxue fine? I'm Ning Yang." Ning Lan's dad walked up in excitement. "Ning Yang?" Yimo seemed to have heard Qingxue mention this name. "Qingxue went out on holiday, and she's fine." "Aren't you? I'm Qingxue's cousin." Yimo immediately remembered. When Ning Qingxue was betrayed by her family and sold to the Song family, it was Ning Yang who told her about it and helped her escape. Yimo immediately reached out his hand and shook hands with Ning Yang. "Nice to meet you, thank you for what you did." Ning Yang immediately felt happy. It was a matter of huge excitement for him that someone like Yimo remembered what he had done. The middle-aged man who had been pushing Ning Yang now carefully walked up to Yimo and said, "I'm Ning Yang's cousin, Ning Shi, Qingxue's elder cousin. It's an honor that City Lord Yi has come to the Ning family." However, he didn't dare to shake hands with Yimo. He could tell by Yimo's attitude that he didn't really want to stay with him. Ning Zhenwu, who came out to watch the show, looked at Yimo in shock. He didn't think that even his great-uncle would be so respectful to this man. His great-uncle was the next in line for becoming the family leader, but what shook him even more was that his great-grandpa even came out with a very excited face. Yimo immediately recognized Ning Fusion. He wasn't young, but he could tell he looked like Ning Zhongfei. "Is this the glorious arrival of City Lord Yi?" Ning Fusion yelled in excitement from far away. Although Yimo didn't really like Ning Qingxue's grandpa, he was still her grandpa, and Yimo would be asking for help today. Hearing this, Yimo walked up and saluted with his fists. I greet Ning Qianbei. Ning Fuzhen clearly liked this greeting method. The only pity was that Yimo didn't call him grandpa, but he knew that the damage in their relationship with Ning Qingxue was irreversible. It was already great fortune that Yimo would even come to them. He didn't even need Yimo to do anything for the Ning family, as he only had to spread the word that Yimo had come to their mansion, and the Ning family's status would go up a level in Beijing. Not to mention, he was sure that Yimo wouldn't come visit for no reason. City Lord Yi, please come inside. Ning Fuzhen reached out his hand hospitably. Clearly he was trying to usher Yimo in. Great-grandpa, is this Luo Yu's City Lord Yi? He's so young, that girl who had been about to beat Ninglan said as she came up and held Ning Fuzhen's arm. However, she was looking at Yimo with seductive eyes. Yimo scanned this girl, and she was indeed beautiful and even prettier than Zhuo Yangqing, but Yimo saw that the greater part of her seeming innocence was an act. And this made Yimo displeased. Yimo didn't go in immediately and asked Ning Yang, Brother Ning, why are you here? The reason why Yimo asked this was because Ning Yang didn't seem to be welcomed here, and from what Ning Zhenwu said, their family didn't seem to be doing well in Beijing. Ning Yang sighed. A few years ago, I planned on joining Qingxue at Luo Yu, but she seemed to be out and something happened to Luo Yu, so I wasn't able to make it. I don't have much business in Beijing, so I went back to my wife's home in Ninghai, but I can't stay there forever, so Yimo could tell that Ning Yang's wife's family must not be happy with him, so he went back to Beijing. Yet he couldn't even see Ning Fuzhen, much less ask him for help. Ning Fuzhen thought quickly and immediately understood what was going on. He looked annoyedly at Ning Shi and said amicably, Ning Yang, why didn't you just come inside? Come in with City Lord Yi. This must be Lan Lan, you're so big already. Come in with your dad and let great-grandpa see you. Ning Yang knew that the reason why Ning Fuzhen had this attitude was all because of Yimo. He quickly took Ning Lan up and greeted, Grandpa, I came to visit you today with Lan Lan. All is good as long as you're healthy. Great. You can go ahead and settle in the mansion when you're ready, and I'll let Zhongshou give you some responsibilities later. Sigh, I'm getting old, Ning Fuzhen sighed. Yimo smiled, Brother Ning Yang, if you want I can write a letter to Erhu, and you can work at Luo Yu Pharmaceuticals. As for Lan Lan, she can study at Luo Yu. Hearing this, everyone in the Ning family looked at Ning Yang in envy. It was so hard to even go to Luo Yu, much less live there. Of course I'm willing. Ning Yang replied in excitement. Because of Yimo, when Ning Yang left almost the whole Ning family sent him off. After the two left, Ning Fuzhen said politely to Yimo, City Lord Yi, please come in. Yimo went in first, while Ning Fuzhen waved his hands at the people behind him and didn't let a single person come in. However, he did let that girl holding his arm come in. Chapter 800. Where are the fishtails? Chapter 800. Where are the fishtails? Ning Fuzhen took Yimo straight to his office and let that girl make 2 cups of tea. He kept on expressing his amazement at Luo Yu's development and beauty but didn't mention Ning Zhongfei or Ning Qingxue. Yimo sneered. He knew that their relationship was very bad. Ning Fuzhen understood that too, and so he didn't use them as an icebreaker in their conversation. Ning Fuzhen had brought him to his office to get closer to him and perhaps even to try to settle at Luo Yu. But Yimo had his bottom line. Even if it meant not taking the 2 fish tails, he couldn't possibly let Ning Fuzhen settle at Luo Yu. Other than those who had helped Qingxue, no one from the Ning family would be allowed to go. He didn't want Qingxue to feel discomfort in any way. Seeing Ning Fuzhen not bringing the topic to the main point, Yimo could only say, Ning Qianbei, Wanbei came here to trouble Qianbei with something. Ning Fuzhen heard this and immediately brightened up. City Lord Yi, tell me whatever you need. I will take care of it without hesitation as long as it's within my capability. Yimo nodded. In that case, I'll be straightforward. I heard you happened to buy 2 fishtail shards at an auction in Beijing once. Would you be able to show that to me? Fishtail shards? Ning Fuzhen was dazed and thought for a while before remembering that there really had been such a thing. He had bought 2 fishtail shards from an auction 3 years ago. He felt they were extraordinary but not too expensive, so he bought them. But since he wasn't able to find anything special about them, he gave them to someone else. He didn't think Yi Mo would have come for that. Seeing Ning Fuzhen's face, Yi Mo got worried. Had he lost it already? Ning Fuzhen soon reacted and said with a bitter smile, I had some plans in mind for the 2 shards, so they're not on me right now. Ning Fuzhen then said, I was planning on giving the shards to a friend to make a set of fish pieces as Xuyen's wedding gift. Yi Mo was dazed at the words. Fishtail shards as a wedding gift. Was Ning Fuzhen's brain all right? That broken thing was clearly not suitable for a wedding gift. However, Ning Fuzhen had his ideas. He had long since regretted his conflict with Ning Qingxue and her father. He thought that if he could connect to Yi Mo somehow, his Ning family could move to Luoyu and maybe even become the #1 family in Luoyu. That would be much better than being a family on the decline in Beijing. Even now already, most people respected the Ning family due to Ning Qingxue. So he wanted to connect to Yi Mo through another marriage. Yi Mo could marry 2 wives in Luoyu, which meant he could marry more. He got to decide what happened in Luoyu anyways. Other than Ning Qingxue, the prettiest in the Ning family was Ning Xuyen. The only problem was that she was a generation younger than Ning Qingxue. But if Yi Mo accepted her, then that was no problem to speak of at all. That fishtail shard story was just an excuse. He believed he could take it back if he needed. Ning Fuzhen thought, with Ning Xuyen's beauty, Yi Mo wouldn't reject this. Thinking about this, Ning Fuzhen laughed, you and Xuyen must be fated. You both like those fishtails. Xuyen liked that pair of fishtails, so I told people to refine them into something better. City Lord Yi, if you don't mind, I can even marry Xuyen to you. She's my favorite granddaughter. She's still studying at Beijing University, but if you want, she can marry you at any time in Luoyu. Ning Xuyen heard this and was dazed, but she immediately understood what was going on. She wasn't embarrassed at all, and as she sneaked a look at Yi Mo, she looked very willing. Yi Mo was like an emperor in Luoyu. If she married Yi Mo, she would be the emperor's wife or concubine. Yi Mo's face sunk. He immediately saw through what Ning Fuzhen was trying to do and cursed at Ning Fuzhen's shamelessness. Yi Mo didn't like Ning Xuyen's character at all. Even if he did, he wouldn't agree to this with Ning Qingxue in mind. Ning Fuzhen clearly wanted the Ning family to become the #1 family in Luoyu, while Yi Mo had just reorganized Luoyu so that it couldn't be controlled by a family anymore. If it really became like that, he would rather not have built Luoyu at all. Yi Mo got up and bowed, since Qianbei doesn't want take it out, I'll be leaving. Then, Yi Mo turned to leave and couldn't even be bothered replying. After leaving, he went back to Ning Fuzhen's office while invisible. He wanted to find out where the fishtails were. Meanwhile, Ning Fuzhen's face was very bad. He didn't think Yi Mo would be this rude. Ning Xuyen was also annoyed. She believed that the reason why Yi Mo didn't like her was all because Yi Mo had just happened to see her unreasonable side. Grandpa, this Yi Mo is really rude. So what if he's the city lord of Luoyu? I don't even care. Ning Xuyen said. Ning Fuzhen waved his hand and sighed, no need to say anything. Our Ning family is just an insect to him. Even if he wouldn't do it himself, too many people would be willing to annihilate us if he said anything. Great-grandpa, are those 2 fishtails important? Even Yi Mo wants to see them. Ning Xuyen wasn't dumb at all. Ning Fuzhen shook his head, I don't know, but since Yi Mo asked for it, I will ask them back. It'll still be worth something if we give them to him. One day, if the Ning family has nowhere to go, maybe we can get help from Luoyu. Then who did you give the fish tails to, great-grandpa? Ning Xuyen asked the question Yi Mo wanted to know the answer to the most. Ning Fuzhen replied, to a Japanese friend of mine. He brought a friend here last time who really liked it, so I gave it to him. Oh, I remember, was it that Xiong-jin? Ning Xuyen clapped her hands. Ning Fuzhen nodded, it was him. Last time, since I was thinking about sending you to Japan, I wanted to ask him to help you. If you go to Japan, you need to be polite to him, his father and I are old friends. I don't want to go to Japan and learn those tricks from them. I might as well learn ancient martial arts if I want to learn something, Ning Xuyen said in contempt. Ning Fuzhen said seriously, Seong Song founded the hidden art in Japan himself, it's no magic tricks. He's the sect leader of one of the 3 big national art sects. Don't underestimate him. That Seong Jing is said to be even better than his father. Their arts are no weaker than ancient martial arts. Moreover, do you think it's that easy to learn ancient martial arts? Hearing this, Ning Shuyan asked carefully after a while, then did that guy come for the 2 fishtails? Ning Fuzhen said, he just happened to see them then. He also came last time to ask about Yi Mo, but he didn't know that although Yi Mo is a part of our family, he's like a stranger to us. Why was he asking about Yi Mo? Does he have enmity with Yi Mo? Ning Shuyan asked. Ning Fuzhen frowned. He had never really thought about it. Chapter 801, Nai Shuangshuang's Bar. Chapter 801, Nai Shuangshuang's Bar. Leaving the Ning family mansion, Yi Mo now knew the whereabouts of the fishtails. Although he had never heard of that Seong Ninja Dojo, he had to go there for the 2 fishtails. Yi Mo bought a big case and filled it up with USD. He was going to give this case to Ning Yang. To Yi Mo, it was like waste paper, but to Ning Yang it would mean the possibility to start his own business. Yi Mo sent his spirit sense out, and as he was nearly at the tertiary stage of stage 8, his spirit sense was near 22 kilometers. Hence, he immediately found where Ning Yang lived. He didn't think that being a part of the Ning family, he wouldn't even have a home in Beijing. He was staying at a hotel. Yi Mo arrived in front of Ning Yang's room, and as soon as he came to the door, he heard an argument going on inside. I was really blind to have fallen in love with someone like you. Why can't we be in Beijing? Are you not a seed of the Ning family? You're a man, yet you let us live in a hotel. We don't even have a home. Go out, get out, a hurtful woman's voice sounded. Chichi, listen, we're leaving Beijing straight for Luoyu. We can settle there. Is Luoyu not better than Beijing? Ning Yang's voice was weak. He clearly felt that he was truly useless. The woman he called Chichi stopped pushing Ning Yang and sniffed. Go to Luoyu then, all you know is to go to Luoyu. You sold our house in Beijing to go to Luoyu, but in the end, we didn't even get to stay, and now we don't have a place to live anymore. We could only stay at my parents' house in Ninghai, but now you still want to go to Luoyu. Mom, stop arguing with Dad, I still have tens of thousands of pocket money, and Dad is speaking the truth that we can go to Luoyu. The uncle said we can, Ninglan said weakly. She had always lived a wealthy life and had enough pocket money. She didn't think the family was in such a destitute situation. Chichi seemed to have lost her energy and just sat by the bed sniffing. Ning Yang sighed. Chichi, it's real this time, I'm not lying to you. Although we don't have much savings, as long as we go to Luoyu. Yi Mo knocked on the door. Ning Yang opened and saw Yi Mo standing at the door with a big case, so he called out in surprise and joy, City Lord Yi. What brings you here? Yi Mo waved his hand and smiled. Brother Ning, just call me by my name, I'm not the city lord right now anyway. Qingxue told me to come visit you. The woman saw Yi Mo and wiped her eyes, standing on the side in embarrassment. Uncle. Ninglan immediately called out and said to her Mom, he's the uncle who invited us to Luoyu. Yi Mo smiled. Qingxue told me to come help you a bit. Brother Ning, you can take this and go exchange it later. Also give this bracelet to Ninglan. I'll be going already, but I'll come visit you guys at Luoyu. Yi Mo then put the case on the side and gave a defensive bracelet for Ninglan before leaving. He didn't know how to solve their argument though, so he quickly left. After Yi Mo left, Ning Yang reacted and said to the woman unhappily, City Lord Yi came, yet you didn't even pour him a cup of tea, you're too impolite. City Lord Yi? Yi Mo. He's the husband of Sister Qingxue, the woman finally reacted and said in shock. Ning Yang said grumpily, of course it's him, otherwise who do you think can let us go settle in Luoyu with just a letter? Why didn't you say so earlier? The woman complained. I have been saying it all this time, but you didn't listen, Ning Yang sighed. Chichi seemed to know she had been unreasonable and said awkwardly, Qingxue told him to bring a case, I wonder what it is. She was full of regret. Qingxue's husband had just been there, that legendary city Lord Yi Mo, yet she had been crying. She didn't even get to see how that Yi Mo looked, whether he was handsome or not. Ning Lan ran to the case and opened it. What the family was shook. Ning Lan didn't know what it was, but the couple knew. It was a case full of dollars. There was at least a few million in it. There were less and less people he knew at Beijing. Yi Mo just visited Han Zixin and chatted with him for a while before leaving the Han family. He was going to go to Juming Academy first before then heading to Japan. From Han Zixin he found out that Tan Jiao never came back after leaving Beijing. Only Luan Qingfeng had remained. He was a peak half-step Great Heaven cultivator but couldn't make that final breakthrough. Yi Mo didn't have a bad impression of him. The Beijing city streets looked even busier than before, but Yi Mo felt it was missing something. Drunk Eye Bar. Yi Mo exclaimed as he saw it still be there even after more than 10 years had passed. He remembered Nai Shuang. This was the first date he had with her. Of course, he had been there to warn her. Yi Mo subconsciously walked in and found that the layout was exactly the same as all those years ago. How could a bar that never changed earn money? Yi Mo subconsciously walked to the table he sat with Nai Shuang, but before he could sit down, a waiter stopped him. "Sorry sir, this table is not open for seating. Please choose another table," the waiter said. This rule had existed for more than 10 years. The customer in front of him was probably new. "Why?" Yi Mo asked strangely. The waiter replied politely, "Our president made this rule. This is our president's special seat, it's not open to the public." Yi Mo was speechless. "Who is your president?" Yi Mo subconsciously asked. "The president's surname is Nai," the waiter smiled. "Nai?" Yi Mo thought of Nai Shuang. Was it her? That was impossible. Would she really open up a bar at Beijing? But Yi Mo thought it really might be possible. Thinking about this, Yi Mo asked, "Is your president Nai Shuang?" The waiter looked at Yi Mo strangely and confirmed, "Yes, that is right." It really was her. She had to be an established cultivator already. Why would she open a bar there? "Well, I actually know her." "Where has she been?" "I'd like to go see her." Yi Mo's spirit sense hadn't found Nai Shuang around. The waiter said, "Our president hasn't come for a long time, but if you want to see her, you can contact our store manager, sir." "You want to find Sister Shuang? Do you know her?" A buster-looking woman in her 30s heard the conversation and asked. "Yes, I know her. Where is she?" Yi Mo nodded. The woman studied Yi Mo and said, "She has left Beijing for 5 years already, but if you really know her, come with me." This woman was only above average looking, but she was quite sexy. When she walked, her ass shook in a special rhythm. Yi Mo, however, just glanced at it and looked away. The woman took Yi Mo to the office and studied Yi Mo for a while and said, "If you only know to stare at my ass, I really hope you're not the man Sister Shuang talked about." Chapter 802, You're from the All-Gu sect. Chapter 802, You're from the All-Gu sect. Yi Mo smiled as he thought that this woman felt a bit too good about herself. He didn't know how she knew he had looked at her ass, but to be fair, he hadn't even gazed at it for a second. But Yi Mo didn't rebuke her, and he just said plainly, "Tell me where Nai Shuang went." Seeing this, the woman looked at Yi Mo in contempt before using the same plain tone, "You're that Yi Mo, right? Although I've never seen you before, the only guy Sister Nai Shuang knows is you." "That's right, I'm Yi Mo. Now tell me where Nai Shuang went," Yi Mo asked calmly. "She went looking for you," the woman replied. "What, she went looking for me?" Yi Mo asked the woman in surprise. The woman saw Yi Mo was really surprised and couldn't help but feel more contempt towards him. He was cruel enough to not visit a woman who liked him for so many years, and he didn't even know about it. She didn't understand why Sister Nai Shuang would like someone as heartless as this. With her beauty, what man couldn't she get? Why did Sister Nai Shuang sacrifice herself for this man? She hadn't heard any news from her for 5 years. If she really went to Miaojiang, then she might not be alive. "Do you know where she went to find me?" Yi Mo calmed down and asked. He knew Nai Shuang probably didn't go find him at Luoyu, because otherwise Yi Ling would know. "A few years ago, she got news of your sudden disappearance, so she left Beijing to find you. She left me with this bar. She didn't open this bar for money, So I followed her will and never changed a thing about this bar. I don't really know where she went, but I heard her mention Miaojiang. I don't know if she went there in the end or not, the woman said. Yimo left the bar, and the woman took out a video recording, wanting to see Yimo's lustful ogling of her butt. But the next moment, her face turned green. She had been thinking too highly of herself. The video recording showed that Yimo had only scanned her ass for less than a second. Immediately, she felt very embarrassed. No wonder Yimo's face didn't change at all. Moreover, he couldn't even be bothered to explain himself. Yimo didn't feel so good after walking out of the bar. Although he wasn't interested in Nai Shuang, she had gone missing due to him. China was so big, while his spirit sense was only 20 kilometers. It would be impossible to find her, not to mention that she might not even be in China. At least for Yun Zi's dad, Yun Dongxia, he could make an advertisement through TV. As for Miao Jiang, Yimo had to go for Yimo anyway. It would be even better if he could find Nai Shuang there too. Yimo decided to look for Zheng Zhangxia first. He didn't walk very far away from the bar when a very exposed woman threw a flirty glance at him and said seductively, "Big brother, could you go in and have a drink with me?" Yimo had no interest to drink with such a woman, so he waved his hand, "Sorry, I'm busy." Then he immediately left. Yimo found himself a place with no one around and was about to fly towards Kunlun when his spirit sense checked up on that woman again. She had found someone else to drink with. It was a man in his 50s, he had a bald head and very small eyes. Yimo shook his head and wanted to take back his spirit sense, but a moment later, something made him change his mind, and he followed the two. He noticed that the bald man was some ancient martial arts master at the Earth-level tertiary stage. Yimo didn't understand why a master like him would get together with an escort. Even though the man was ugly, he could have any sort of woman he wanted with his power. On top of that, his inner chi wave felt familiar to Yimo. The man's kai had a certain recognizable earth element to it. The man drove an ordinary van. Yimo followed behind the man and kept scanning the man with his spirit sense. Soon, he remembered that when he cured Zhua Aigua's son, Zhua Huatang, he had a sliver of inner chi in his brain. It was the exact same chi as the chi this man had. The man drove to a place near the Yang River. They were at the slums. "Big brother, you're really interesting, you live here?" The woman was still smiling as she leaned on the bald man, but Yimo could tell that she was a little scared. "Hehe, don't worry, this is for you." The man stopped the car and took out a few $100 and stuffed them into the woman's chest. Then, he dragged the woman into a house. Yimo followed in and scanned the place with his spirit sense. His face sunk immediately. There was an underground room with multiple bodies inside. The woman might have gotten some money, but she was no idiot. She could feel that something creepy was up with the house and that the man didn't really seem to want to *CK her. "I'm Hong Guangping. Don't hate me for this, but I have no choice. Don't worry, after you die, I will burn some money for you." The bald-headed man suddenly took out a blood-red bug and looked at the woman. "What are you doing? I'll give you all the money you want, just don't kill me," the woman begged. As Hong Guangping saw this, he said in a sympathetic tone, "I'm really sorry, I would really love to just knock you out, but if I do, my baby wouldn't be able to get the best essence blood out of you." Yimo understood what was going on. This guy's red bug was a GU bug, and he was using it to rob living people of their essence blood. Yimo thought this guy must be from the All-GU sect too. From this guy's means Yimo could tell he was stronger than Ren Shou. But he didn't seem to be the person who planted the pill GU on Yimo. Hong Guangping threw his GU out and said, "Baby, hurry up, we don't have much time." The woman saw the blood-red bug fly towards her and screamed. Then, she fainted. Hong Guangping couldn't let her faint, though, and as he wanted to wake her up, he suddenly sensed his GU bug disappear. He turned around immediately and asked in shock, "Who are you?" Yimo ignored Hong Guangping and floated the GU bug above his palm. The GU bug struggled for a good while. He took out a bottle and sealed it inside. Then, he looked at Hong Guangping and asked, "You're from the All-GU sect?" Chapter 803, Golden Magical GU. Chapter 803, Golden magical Gu. Although other people's lives were like grass in Hong Guangping's eyes, he valued his own life a lot. He knew he was an ant to this young man who was able to come into his room without him noticing at all and control his Gu with just his bare hands. This young man might very well be a great heaven master, or at least a half-step great heaven cultivator. Now that Yimo asked him this question, he was shook. There weren't a lot of all Gu sect members, so there weren't many who knew about them. Their cultivation method was very cruel and evil, just like the 9 moon sects, so they were also looked down upon by most sects. Thus, they didn't participate in hidden sect activities and were very low-key. But he quickly replied, "Yes, Qianbei, Wanbei is a member of the All-Gu sect." "Why are you harming people in Beijing then?" Yimo asked while scanning the man and was sure that he wasn't the black-clothed man Song Yangzhu had talked about. Hong Guangping hesitated when he felt a cold qi rush towards him. Before he could react, he felt his left arm go cold, and it instantly fell to the ground. Blood splashed out. Hong Guangping was stunned and furious. He didn't think that just for hesitating only a little bit this man would slice his arm off. But he also came to realized that this young man was stronger than he had thought. He himself was at the Earth-level tertiary stage, yet he hadn't even been able to react. Now, it could be seen that he was even worse than an ant to this young man. Understanding this, Hong Guangping quickly stopped his bleeding and replied immediately, "Qianbei, I came to Beijing because the egg of the All-Gu sect's golden magical Gu has been found." Yimo sneered, "What's that got to do with you coming to Beijing?" Hong Guangping was pale due to the loss of blood already, but he didn't dare to reply slowly, because the golden magical Gu exist as a pair. There are 6 disciples of us in the same generation, so we've locked it up in a secure place and will be holding a month-long tournament later at our sect. Only the 2 who get first and second place can get the eggs. Yimo sneered, "Seems like there's quite a lot of all Gu sect trash. I killed a Ren Sha and a Yang Wuliang, yet there's still so many of you. How long until this 1-month tournament?" Hong Guangping shivered upon hearing this. Why was he so unlucky? Yang Wuliang was fine, he was very cruel, but his power was rather weak, but Ren Sha was very powerful. He was the genius of the All-Gu sect, but there hadn't been any news of him for more than 10 years. So it was this man who killed him. Hong Guangping was also cruel, but he was rather fearful of his own death. His teeth were even chattering as he spoke carefully, "There's one more week, Qianbei, I'm actually a benign person. I really don't like killing people. I'm the most good-hearted in the whole All-Gu sect. If it wasn't for the golden magical Gu, I wouldn't come out to Beijing to increase my power either. Please have mercy on me. I'm willing to take you to the All-Gu sect and kill all of the members." "Oh, so according to you, the All-Gu sect is quite prosperous as to motivate you to go through such lengths for their rewards. There are so many sect members outside, though. How can you kill them all?" Yimo sneered. Hong Guangping said more desperately, "Qianbei, I'm telling the truth. There aren't that many All-Gu sect members. There's only 6 left. It is due to the limited resources these years that the disciples devoured each other's gus. And so now, the remaining ones are all elite members." Yimo breathed easy. If there were a lot of All-Gu sect members, and if they all went to Luoyu would suffer heavily. Yimo sneered, "In that case, I don't need you to lead the way. A week later, I will go to your sect and kill them all myself." Hearing this, Hong Guangping almost slapped his own mouth. Why did he say that the sect members had devoured each other? At this moment, that woman woke up, and her first reaction was to scream. When she then saw Yimo and Hong Guangping with a missing arm, she screamed even louder. Yimo frowned and said, "Take that black bag and go. You can take the van and drive away, you have no business here." "Huh." The woman realized that the young man telling her to go was the customer she wasn't able to get. "Big brother, did you save me?" The woman wasn't dumb. Yimo sighed, "Yes, now take that black bag and go already." Yimo's spirit sense had scanned that the black bag was full of money. It was Hong Guangping's. "Huh. Okay, thank you. Thank you." The woman didn't want to take the black bag, but she didn't dare to reject Yimo's request. Soon, she drove away from the Yang River in the van. Seeing Yimo look at him again, Hong Guangping shivered and said, "Qianbei, I'm truly kind-hearted." This was the first time Yimo sneered. "First time? So the bodies underground have nothing to do with you?" Heh! Hong Guangping was dazed. How did this young man know about that? He had clearly come from the front entrance. Had he been hiding there before? Seeing Yimo's killing intent, Hong Guangping shivered even more but didn't know how to beg this young man to let him go anymore. "Let me ask you something. Who knows how to raise a pill Gu in the all Gu sect?" Yimo asked with even stronger killing intent. Hong Guangping quickly answered, "Martial brother Ji Lai does. He's always been outside the sect, and he's much stronger than me." "Will he be going back to the all Gu sect in a week?" Yimo asked impatiently. Yes, he will go back for sure." Hong Guangping shivered. "And where will your martial brothers be gathering then?" Yimo asked. "At the place where our master died, Nanjiang Wn Chu Mountain." Then Hong Guangping quickly said, "Qianbei, I have a key you will need, but I don't have it on me. If you kill me, you won't be able to get the key." Yimo sneered. He didn't believe that place would be hard enough to stop his flying sword. After finding out all he wanted to know, Yimo looked plainly at the shivering Hong Guangping and smiled. Hong Guangping saw this and forced out a smile, wanting to show he could still be useful. Then Yimo said, "I'm really sorry, and I really did want to give you a chance first before killing you, but that's too troublesome. Don't hate me after I kill you, because you won't have a next life. I will burn your soul away." Then, Yimo threw a flame over. Yimo had listed the All Gu sect as a sect he must annihilate. After this event, Yimo didn't stay in Beijing and headed towards Juming Academy on his flying sword. Chapter 804. Behind the Assassination. Chapter 804. Behind the assassination. Yimo didn't know where on Kunlun Juming Academy was, and the Kunlun ranges were thousands of kilometers long. He wouldn't be able to find it with this spirit sense over a single night. So he just went to Liqing City and planned to go to the place where Juming Academy accepted guests. After coming to this city, Yimo felt it was very quiet. It was a well-developed place which should be more prosperous at night. Yimo scanned the area with his spirit sense and quickly found Juming Hotel, so Yimo went there without hesitation. As soon as he arrived, he saw a figure stumble as he charged into the hotel. It was a man at the Earth-level primary stage man who was heavily injured. Someone immediately helped him up when he came in, and 2 more Earth levels came to the door and looked around. Such things were happening on Juming Academy's land. Yimo was about to go in and ask what was going on when his spirit sense picked up on a wave. This wave was an ethereal person. Invisibility. Yimo was shook. Who could turn invisible other than him? He scanned the person with his spirit sense. After measuring the person's power, he relaxed. This wasn't invisibility, it was an inner chi trick. The figure stared at the door of the hotel for a long while before leaving in dissatisfaction. Yimo immediately followed up and completely checked this person. The person was at most at the black level, yet he was able to heavily injure an earth-level cultivator, almost killing him. However, he seemed to have gotten injured too, and there was blood on his stomach. Yimo realized that this person must be related to the Japanese master and disciple pair who tried to cause trouble at the Hidden Sects tournament. In the end, Yimo had killed the master by nailing him to the wall, and his disciple had also been killed by Zheng Zhengxia's disciple with his wind blade rune. More than 10 years later, he saw such people again at the foot of Kunlun Mountain. The black figure was very fast, and soon, he left Liqing and went into a Range Rover, which was waiting for him by the side of the road. The vehicle quickly drove off onto the highway, and when Yimo scanned the car with his spirit sense, he found that there were another black level and earth level cultivator in the car. The driver wasn't a cultivator at all. Half an hour later, the car stopped at a remote village. All 3 cultivators got off and went into the village without the driver. The driver then left. Yimo followed the 3 into a small mansion. There were many of these small mansions in this village. In this mansion, there were already 5 people who seemed to be waiting for the 3. Yimo followed them into the house without hesitation. The first to speak was Japanese, and Yimo couldn't understand him. Luckily, another white-faced man spoke in Chinese. Chiyu, you didn't get him and even got injured instead? The black level bowed and said, yes, that person is definitely no ordinary Earth-level primary stage cultivator. He can easily kill Earth-level middle stage masters. After I stole his thing, he ran off. Then, the man handed a booklet with both of his hands. The white-faced man nodded, stand on the side. Yes. This black-level man retreated to the side. The other two also handed a couple of booklets. Yimo sent his spirit sense around and saw that they were all ancient martial arts cultivators. Yimo was shook. Were these people killing ancient martial artists to get their cultivation methods? Or did they know that Juming Academy had notified all Earth levels to come, so they were waiting for them? Yimo scanned the mansion with his spirit sense too and saw a large pile of ancient martial arts cultivation methods. It seemed his guess was right. But there were too many here. Did they really need this many? Suddenly, that Japanese man spoke in Chinese. Let's leave immediately, there's no need to stay here anymore. The white-faced man nodded. Yes, although we didn't hit our target, we need to change locations nonetheless. Then, he looked coldly at Chiyu. Chiyu was shook and knew the white-faced man wasn't happy with him. His failure had exposed them. The Japanese nodded. Then let's go to Beijing first. Jitang-kun will continue with the remaining work. You just need to go from Beijing to Luoyu and do everything according to plan. The white-faced man looked at the Japanese man and said, Anko-kun, according to my intel, that Yi guy appeared in Beijing recently, meaning that he isn't at Luoyu right now. I think we can't go to Beijing yet. Although it's a really small chance that he finds us, but if he does, I'm sure that all of us combined would be no match for him. Me. There were 3 men who sat at the top. Among them was a tall, skinny, middle-aged man who was unhappy. Yimo scanned this man and found that he was the strongest there, having half-step great heaven power. The white-faced man smiled. I have more enmity with Yimo than anyone. He annihilated our Dongfang family in Luoyu, so I want to kill him more than anyone. But I also know better than anyone else that we aren't capable of killing him yet. Brother Xiong-heng, although I know you're the strongest here, that Yimo isn't any weaker than Xiong-jing Qianbei of your Xiong Ninjutsu dojo. Can I think of this as Dongfang Wang deceiving us into helping you achieve your goals? The tall, skinny man sneered. The white-faced man seemed a little helpless and could only say, I can swear that the young master didn't lie to you. Not to mention, your sect's Aosi Keelang also died by Yimo's hands. Does dojo leader Xiong not want revenge? If he didn't want revenge, I don't think you would be here. That tall, skinny man didn't argue back. Yimo now understood what was going on. Dongfang Wang was teaming up with these Japanese against Luo Yu. Yimo didn't keep listening. He walked in and raised his hand, and tens of wind blades flew out. In an instant, the room was bombarded with sword kai as blood splashed everywhere. Yimo killed 5 out of the 8 people in the room without any resistance. Yimo left that Japanese man, white-faced man, and tall, skinny man alive. Chapter 805, Dongfang Wang's Setup. Chapter 805, Dongfang Wang's Setup. As Yimo expected, the first to react was that tall, skinny Xiong-heng. He had pulled out his curved sword instantly and was looking at Yimo with alert. The reason why Yimo had caused a bloodbath on the ground level right from the start was to shock the people above, but clearly this Xiong-heng didn't care. The white-faced man had also gotten up, and his face did get pale. His body was trembling as he asked, You're Yimo? How did you get here? Yimo ignored him and walked up to the man, kicking him away into the pool of blood. He kicked that other Japanese man away too before sitting down and looking at Xiong-heng. Xiong-heng stared at Yimo for a while before saying, I'm probably no match for you. Yimo smiled calmly, Of course you're no match for me, I don't need you to remind me. Xiong-heng's face burst red as he said in anger, Even if I'm no match for you, I will still fight you. Then, he was about to attack. Yimo waved his hand, No need to seek death. I heard your dojo leader was also looking for this. Then, Yimo took out the 5 pieces of the yin-yang fish. Xiong-heng saw this and said shakily, You have 5 pieces? If you were to obtain the 2 fishtails, You would have collected all of the fish jumping through the dragon gate. Yimo looked at the excited Xiong and knew there really was some big secret involved, and it seemed like that dojo leader would know for sure. Seeing Yimo put the pieces away, Xiong immediately wanted to make a grab for it. But Yimo sneered and threw out tens of wind blades. He didn't want to kill Xiong yet, so they didn't hit any vital spots. Seeing the frosty Kai come at him, Xiong realized his situation and picked up his curved sword without hesitation. It spun a circle and clashed with the wind blades while Xiong imbued his inner chi. Yimo didn't keep throwing wind blades, because Xiong would really end up chopped up on the ground otherwise. This was the difference in strength between truth cultivators and ancient martial artists. Clank clank clank, Xiong retreated to the back of the meeting room. There were cuts on his arms and stomach. Yimo approved of this Xiong. He was much stronger than other half-step Great Heaven cultivators. Xiong face was pale, and he looked at Yimo in shock. He had never seen such a master that could easily condense inner chi into blades. What martial art was this? The difference between them was too great. You're from the Xiong Ninjutsu dojo, right? And your dojo leader has the two fishtails, right? Yimo asked. Yes, Xiong replied subconsciously. What's the main purpose of the fish pieces? What are you doing here? Were the people I killed from your dojo too? Yimo asked. Xiong shook his head. I only know that once the pieces are gathered, they can form the fish ascending into Dragon Gate. There's a huge fortune inside, but I don't know the specifics. I came here to kill you, and those you killed were people dojo leader trained for the Dongfang family. Yimo could tell from Xiong eyes that he didn't lie. Yimo nodded. Seeing that you didn't lie, I will allow you to commit suicide. Thank you. Xiong was unsatisfied, but he didn't attack Yimo again. He simply slit his throat with his sword. Blood splurged, and Xiong fell on the ground. Yimo then looked coldly at the white-faced man. This fellow was from the Dongfang family. Yimo knew that Dongfang Wang, that venomous snake, wouldn't stop just like that, but he didn't understand why they were killing hidden sect members. The white-faced man looked scared, but Yimo knew he would never tell him the truth. Hence Yimo walked up to the man and patted him on the forehead. The man's face relaxed, and his eyes looked blank. What's your name? Yimo asked. I'm Dongfang Xiao. The white-faced man answered calmly, but this shocked the Japanese man heavily. Why are you killing the hidden sect's masters? Why are you collecting ancient martial arts cultivation methods? Yimo soon understood what was going on. Dongfang Tang had sent the Japanese there, while Dongfang Xiao represented Dongfang Wang, and Xiong represented the Xiong Ninjutsu dojo. Xiong purpose was simple, to get revenge from Yimo and collect the yin-yang fish pieces. Dongfang Tang represented Northern Sand and wanted to collect the ancient martial art cultivation methods. Dongfang Wang wanted to annihilate the hidden sects and make a copy of the low-level sects cultivation methods and spread them around Luoyu. Dongfang Wang's purpose was to make people think that Luoyu was the one who had been annihilating the hidden sects. This was because Yimo did similar things in the past: the Gourd Cave, He Liu sect, Broken Fist Hall, and Jian Kang. Yimo curse. This Dongfang Wang was really freaking bleak. If people really believed Luoyu did this, all those hidden sect masters would come to Luoyu for revenge. Luoyu wouldn't care about one or two, but if more came and all targeted the Luoyu higher-ups, then there wouldn't be enough officials to kill. Of course, when Luoyu was completely stabilized, they wouldn't care, but Luoyu was just having its new rules established. Luoyu would also get a bad reputation, while the hidden sects would stand on Dongfang Wang's side. Intricate calculations indeed. All the bastards of the Dongfang family were sly as heck. Does this mean that all the hidden sects were annihilated by you guys? Yimo asked coldly. Dongfang Xiao replied, no, some weren't done by us. Who did it then? Yimo asked. We've investigated it, and it should be related to the All-Gu sect. After saying this much, Dongfang Xiao woke up and realized what had happened to him. He looked at Yimo with a face of disbelief. Yimo pulled out his phone and called Yu Miaodan. Sister Yu, what has the Union said about Northern Sand invading Saizun? Yu Miaodan replied, "It's still under negotiation, and there's no specific plan of action yet." "Then don't bother anymore. Just find an excuse to announce war on Northern Sand, and annihilate them." Yi Mo was very angry. "Huh!" Yu Miaodan was shook. Luo Yu had a reason to fight the first and second times they went to war, but this time we have no excuse. This would leave a bad international reputation and shake the whole of Luo Yu. Chapter 806, Removing Suspicion. Chapter 806, Removing Suspicion. Yi Mo suddenly woke up from her words. The current Luo Yu wasn't the Luo Yu from more than 10 years ago. Luo Yu had only been built then, so its people didn't have a sense of belonging to Luo Yu, and neither did Luo Yu have that for the people. At that time, they could fight whenever they wanted. But now they couldn't. Yi Mo fell silent. He felt he had reacted a bit too emotionally. He didn't like to keep playing with tricks, which was why he gave Luo Yu to others for management while he could quickly settle things when there was a coup d'état and such in Luo Yu. But he needed to change his character a little. There would be schemes and tricks in any world. There was no shortage of people like Dongfang Wang. If he killed Dongfang Wang, there would still be a Shifang Wang. After long, Yi Mo said a little despondently, "You're right, let's wait and see what they have to say about Sai Zun. As for Northern Sand, Luo Yu doesn't need to take action, I will annihilate them myself." Yi Mo wasn't going to let Northern Sand go at all. He had decided to go to Northern Sand's base himself and annihilate them all. He had the power, so he didn't need to play politics with them. Hearing Yi Mo say he would annihilate Northern Sand, that Japanese man shivered again. Yi Mo didn't get to know from Dongfang Xiao where Dongfang Wang was, but he knew where Shitang was now. It was a small tribe in southern China. 2 hours later, Yi Mo left the village and went back to Liqing. Although those ancient martial arts were useless to him, he still made a copy. Who knew when he would need them? Then, he put the cultivation methods all in a big bag which he carried in his hand. "Brother Yi, you're here too." Yi Mo didn't think that the first he would see at Juming Hotel would be Zheng Zhengxia. He was standing at the door and greeted Yi Mo joyfully. Clearly, he had fully recovered. "Is everything okay now?" Yi Mo scanned Zheng Zhengxia with his spirit sense. "Brother Yi, thank you for your pill. Otherwise, I would still be in that bed." Zheng Zhengxia hadn't broken through to Great Heaven, but he was a half-step Great Heaven Peak Master now. Yi Mo patted Zheng Zhengxia's shoulder and said, "Brother Zheng, who attacked 36 River?" Zheng Zhengxia had a hateful look as he said word by word, "His name was Xiong Heng. If not for the fact that he ambushed me first, I wouldn't have been the first to get injured. I'll admit his movement technique might have been strange, but I won't give up just like that. I was waiting for you here to tell you that I must kill that Xiong Heng no matter who he is." "Brother Zheng, no need to do that. I've just killed him for you." Yi Mo nodded. "What? You killed Xiong Heng?" Zheng Zhengxia didn't say this, as it was another ancient martial artist who had just walked out and heard this. Yi Mo had long since noticed that a few people had arrived. He knew them all. The leading man was Feng Wu, the vice-sect leader of Juming Academy. Behind him were his martial brother Zheng Chao and his martial sister Caig. It was Feng Wu who asked the question. Zheng Chao was still at the Earth-level middle stage, but Caig was at the Earth-level tertiary stage. Feng Wu was on the same level as Zheng Zhengxia, and perhaps even a little stronger. No wonder Juming Academy could become the #1 sect of the outer hidden sects. Zheng Zhengxia was the strongest in 36 Rivers, but Feng Wu was supposedly only ranked 3rd in Juming Academy. There were more people behind this group too, but they were just all Earth levels he had seen at the tournament. "Brother Yi, you really killed Xiong Heng?" Zheng Zhengxia grabbed Yi Mo's hand in excitement and asked. Although he was confident he could beat Xiong Heng, he had no confidence in killing him. The people Xiong Heng brought with him had almost annihilated 36 Rivers. Yi Mo nodded, "Yes, and not only that, I killed another few masters who were assassinating the hidden sect masters and robbing the hidden sect's cultivation methods as well." Feng Wu and company heard this and were stunned. Zheng Chao looked surprised and asked, "City Lord Yi, you really found out who was behind it? Shouldn't this have nothing to do with you?" Yi Mo frowned. Dongfang Wang hadn't even started spreading the cultivation methods in Luoyu, yet these people were already suspecting him. There was no way he would be able to clear his name once the plan started. Zheng Zhengxia immediately sneered, "Brother Zheng, I can guarantee with my life that Brother Yi is not such a person. How dare you question him like that?" Yimo felt warm. He knew that Zheng Zhengxia must have spoken out for him a lot. Otherwise, perhaps they would have thought he was the culprit already. But Yimo knew that his past battles had been too shocking. He even annihilated the gourd cave, so he didn't blame Feng Wu and the rest. He nodded. Luoyu was indeed not behind this, but I can't say it's completely unrelated to Luoyu. Seeing everyone's confused eyes, Yimo sighed and said, "Because Luoyu has an enemy called Dongfang Wang who wanted to put the blame of the annihilation of the hidden sects on Luoyu. When I came here today, I saw someone hunt a man up to this hotel. I followed that person and found out what happened. City Lord Yi, please come inside." Feng Wu immediately became very polite. He knew Yimo's power. More than 10 years ago, he could annihilate the gourd cave already. After all these years had passed, there was no way he wouldn't have gotten stronger. He had felt like his state might be higher than Yimo, but now he realized Yimo was probably still way more powerful than him. Yimo explained things after taking everyone to the meeting room and dumped the bag of cultivation methods in there. There were quite a few top-level cultivation methods, but a lot of the sects they belonged to were annihilated, so Yimo left these at Juming Academy. Although those sects were annihilated, most people weren't killed. Dongfang Wang wouldn't kill them all because who would look for trouble with Luoyu then? After some negotiation, Juming Academy sent out a wanted order for the Dongfang family and listed them as the #1 enemy of the hidden sects. Meanwhile, those who had their sects annihilated could come to Juming Academy to collect their cultivation methods. Due to Yimo's power and status, all the hidden sects representatives would greet him. Yimo didn't reject those who wanted to base their sect at Luoyu, as long as their cultivation methods weren't evil and they understood that at Luoyu, they had to obey Luoyu's laws. Although many hidden sects had second thoughts due to this, Zheng Zhengxia decided to move to Luoyu. After the meeting, Yimo brought Zheng Zhengxia to the top level of the hotel. After the two sat down, Yimo asked, "Brother Zheng, I would want to know what your goal is in life." Zheng Zhengxia was dazed, but he quickly said, "Of course it is to reach great heaven. After you reach great heaven, your power increases manifolds, and you get an extra 60 years of life. Although I look 40, I'm already almost 60. If I don't break through soon, I won't have any chance in the future, so I'm fully pursuing great heaven now." Yimo shook his head and said, "The extreme of ancient martial arts isn't great heaven, much less the great heaven you're talking about." "What?" Zheng Zhengxia was shook, but he didn't say anything else as he knew Yimo would tell him more. Yimo said, "In the past, I knew even less about ancient martial arts than you, but now, I can clearly tell you. First, after the peak of Earth level peak comes not the half-step great heaven or great heaven, but the heaven level. Only those who surpass the heaven level are great heaven. After great heaven there are higher levels, but I've only met true great heaven masters and haven't witnessed any level higher than that, so I don't know more." Zheng Zhengxia looked at Yimo with his mouth wide open in shock and was unable to say anything. Chapter 807, Breakthrough in One Night. Chapter 807, Breakthrough in One Night. Yimo didn't interrupt Zheng Zhengxia. He knew that Zheng Zhengxia needed time to process this information. After all, anyone would be in disbelief and loss when something they've worked for all their life turned out to be meaningless. After a long while, Zheng Zhengxia woke up from his shock. He believed that Yimo wouldn't lie to him, so he sighed, "Funny how everyone is working hard to reach great heaven, yet it's actually like this." Then, he seemed to remember something and asked Yimo in shock, "Brother Yi, you said you've seen a real great heaven master? But according to what I know, the highest powers of China's hidden sects are Gourd Cave's Ren Pingchuan and Juming Academy's Wang Yijian. They are at most at the heaven level. Is there someone who surpassed them?" Yimo nodded, "Yes, because I went to the small world and saw the inner hidden sects. I fought with a lot of them too." Zheng Zhengxia could no longer resist the excitement in his heart and got up suddenly, but then he quickly sat back down and asked shakily, "Brother Yi, You really went to the inner hidden sects? The reason why he was so excited was because he knew that over the countless years, inner hidden sect members would come out once in a while the people outside could never go in. It was also said that the inner hidden sects were much stronger than the outer hidden sects. Yimo said again, yes, and if heaven-level cultivators are counted as great heavens, then all big inner hidden sects have 7 or 8 great heaven masters. But if we're talking about true great heaven masters, then there's only 1 or 2 in the inner hidden sects. Yimo thought about the sword technique he got from the man hunting Jimai, and he felt that ancient martial arts weren't as simple as he'd thought. Although they weren't as strong as truth cultivation in the early stages, what if they surpassed great heaven and reached higher states? What would it be like then? Yimo thought about this for a long time but couldn't draw a conclusion without seeing it. How do you enter the inner hidden sects? Zheng Zhangxia asked excitedly. If he went to the inner hidden sects, wouldn't he be able to reach greater levels? Yimo's face sunk. My wife is actually in the small world right now, but I have no way of going at the moment. I will try again once I reach a higher level. Yimo wanted to see if he could repair the formation once he reached the foundation establishment state. Hearing this, Zheng Zhangxia looked extremely disappointed and sighed, so I have cultivated for so long, yet I won't even break through to the heaven level. Instead, I have been comforting myself thinking that it's great heaven I have almost reached. I was really viewing the world from inside a well. In fact, I have a way for you to reach heaven level right away, Yimo said. He didn't tell him these things initially so as not to traumatize Zheng Zhangxia's will to cultivate. Zheng Zhangxia felt his heart wasn't able to take the shock of Yimo's words tonight. He felt like all of these things couldn't be real, but he knew that Yimo wouldn't trick him. Yimo took out a great essence-increasing pill and said, I got this from the small world. If you eat it and digest it and charge for the heaven level, you will succeed for sure. Yes. Zheng Zhangxia took the pill excitedly. He trusted Yimo completely. As soon as it melted in his mouth, it turned into spirit liquid nourishing his meridians. Zheng Zhangxia felt like his body was going to explode under the fiery spirit power. Zheng Zhangxia immediately used his cultivation method to digest the power. His strong foundation allowed him to break through without obstacle. The depth of his dantian formed a qi sea. He reached heaven level and became many times stronger than before. Zheng Zhangxia wanted to stand up and roar out of excitement, but he resisted such impulses and stabilized his state. When Zheng Zhangxia woke up again it was daytime, and he stood up excitedly studying himself. He then said joyfully, I broke through to great heaven. I feel so strong. Yimo smiled, if you want to comfort yourself by saying it's great heaven, I can't do anything about it, but you haven't reached great heaven, remember you've just reached the heaven level. Zheng Zhangxia had set Yimo's words aside. Heaven level was great heaven on earth, meaning that he might be the second heaven level master in all of China. Although Yimo didn't want to shock Zheng Zhangxia, he was afraid Zheng Zhangxia would be too satisfied and no longer progress, so Yimo said, Brother Zheng, there are many people at this level in the small world. Anyway, it's daylight now, so let's go down. Zheng Zhangxia saluted to Yimo with his fists, thank you, Brother Yi. And I naturally know what you mean, but I won't give up on cultivation like this. Instead, I will work even harder. Zheng Zhangxia then hesitated before saying, Brother Yi, what is the difference in power between us now? He knew that he was still no match for Yimo. Yimo smiled, in the small world, I was once surrounded by tens of heaven levels, and there were even heaven-level tertiary stage peak masters. Yimo didn't even mention those earth levels and half-step great heaven cultivators. What happened then? Zheng Zhangxia asked desperately. What happened? Yimo said plainly, I killed them all. Oh, one ran away. Zheng Zhangxia patted his head speechlessly. This brother Yi was a real freak. He was definitely a true great heaven master already. He killed tens of great heaven masters. If word got out, no one would believe it, but Zheng Zhangxia knew Yimo wouldn't lie to him. He no longer had the mood to compare himself with Yimo or to try to spar with him. When Yimo and Zheng Zhangxia came to the ground floor of the hotel, they happened to meet Feng Wu and company. Feng Wu came up to them and said, City Lord Yi, Sect Leader Zheng, we were looking for you guys last night but didn't find you. Feng Wu suddenly stopped. He felt Zheng Zhangxia was different than before. His power was many times stronger, and his inner qi was seeping out uncontrollably. This was because Zheng Zhangxia had just reached heaven level and couldn't fully control his power. Sect leader Zheng, you reached great heaven? Feng Wu's voice was shaky. Zheng Zhangxia reached great heaven in one night? This was too shocking. No matter when, he was always a little stronger than Zheng Zhangxia in the past, but now, Zheng Zhangxia had completely surpassed him. Zheng Zhangxia smiled and nodded. Yes, with the help of Brother Yi, I broke through luckily. No one suspected Zheng Zhangxia's words, as Yi Mo had come last night and Zheng Zhangxia broke through right after. Sect leader Zheng, you've reached great heaven. This is substantial good news. How come you don't look very happy then? An Earth level realized that Zheng Zhangxia could only at most be called in a satisfied mood. Zheng Zhangxia smiled bitterly, thinking, if you guys knew how terrifyingly strong Yi Mo is and that great heaven isn't great heaven, you wouldn't be like this either. He smiled and saluted with his fist. There's no way I'm not happy, but I just keep it in my heart. But I will borrow Jingming Academy's land to invite everyone for drinks today. Feng Wu laughed after recovering from the shock. Great, of course, let's go to Juming Academy now. Finally someone after martial brother Wang broke through to great heaven. This is a thing worthy of celebration for the entire hidden sects. Meanwhile martial sister Cai had shimmering looks in her eyes as she stared at Yi Mo as if realizing something very important. Chapter 808, Number 1 Master. Chapter 808, Number 1 Master. With Yi Mo's investigation, things had cleared out. However, people still needed to discuss what to do, so those people who had come to Liqing still could get to Juming Academy. They went by helicopter. Yi Mo had been to quite a few hidden sects and he felt Juming Academy was far grander than Gourd Cove. It was situated at the most hidden peak in the Kuan Lun Ranges, Kuan Ju Peak. This peak was full of green compared to the other snowy peaks. There were series of constructions everywhere. Yi Mo really wondered how those materials had been shipped there to begin with. Because Yi Mo was a VIP, they arranged it for him to stay in a luxury room. Yi Mo was almost at stage 8 tertiary stage, but he really didn't cultivate much as he had a lot of other things to do. Juming Academy's spirit Kai was rather good. Hence, he immediately began to cultivate when he entered the room and asked not to be disturbed. But just when he had finished a big meridian cycle, someone knocked on his door. Yi Mo thought it was going to be Zheng Zhangxia, but when he scanned his spirit sense out, he found it was Juming Academy's Caig. Why did this woman come here? However, Yi Mo still opened the door. As soon as he did, Caig squeezed in and closed the door. Yi Mo looked at the woman in confusion. He didn't know what she was going to do, but if she was trying to seduce him, it would be too funny. She wasn't ugly, but she wasn't extremely pretty either. Moreover, although she seemed to be in her 30s, Yi Mo knew she was at least in her 40s. Suddenly, Caig knelt down and said, "Please make use of Caig, City Lord Yi." She knelt down and Yi Mo could clearly see the 2 balls of plump white on her chest and a pink spot at the front. She wore no bra at all. Since she was close to Yi Mo, there was a faint aroma coming from her collar. Yi Mo was sure this was no ordinary perfume smell. Yi Mo frowned. He could tell the woman had dressed like this intentionally to seduce him. But such seduction means were nothing to Yi Mo. Perhaps she didn't know how to. Yi Mo sat down casually and looked at her. This has no use to me. Sit down and talk. If you have something, say it. Perhaps she realized that she wasn't good at that and Yi Mo wasn't looking lustfully at her chest, so she could only get up and say, although I'm in my 40s, I have a natural aromatic body. I've never touched a man before. I'm willing to give my body to City Lord Yi as long as you accept. Then, she took off her outer layer and began to strip off her inner layer. Natural aromatic body? Yi Mo thought of Su Jingwen, as she also seemed to have this faint natural aroma. Yi Mo quickly waved his hand. You're exceptional indeed, but I'm not interested in you. If you have something, then say it or else please leave. Caig heard this and looked disappointed. She looked at Yi Mo. She hadn't expected that he wouldn't take her natural aromatic body. She knew she wasn't extremely pretty, But she wasn't bad either. Countless men drooled after her, but Yi Mo's eyes didn't even falter. Caig shook her head and bowed to Yi Mo. She tidied her clothes and turned away to leave. Yi Mo looked strangely at her and asked, "Why don't you tell me your purpose? Perhaps I can truly help you." Caig stopped and stared at Yi Mo. She said, "I only have my body that City Lord Yi might be interested in. Other than this, I don't know anything that can incentivize City Lord Yi. Since City Lord Yi isn't interested in my body, it would only be insulting myself to keep staying here." Yi Mo nodded. "In that case, you may leave." He didn't know her and he had no responsibility to help her. Caig was dazed at this, but she didn't leave. Instead, she asked, "City Lord Yi, do you know who the #1 master of Juming Academy is?" Yi Mo smiled. "I'm not a city lord, just say my name." "Yes, Brother Yi." Yi Mo said, "It should be sect leader Wang Yijian. I heard he's at Great Heaven level." However, Caig shook his head. "Brother Yi, if you think that, you're wrong. In the entire hidden sects, including everyone in Juming Academy, they all think the #1 master is sect leader Wang. However, only that person, and I know that he is not." Yi Mo raised an eyebrow and scanned his spirit sense out. He scanned the entire sect quickly and found a short man in an underground room. He looked like he was in his 40s, he had a squared face and small eyes. He looked like he was at half-step Great Heaven. However, Yi Mo looked carefully and noticed that his real power was not far from Li Cheng's of Tai sects. There was a Great Heaven master outside. Yi Mo was dazed. He didn't even know how to break through to this state. That man knew how to hide his power. If he hadn't cultivated the 3-birth chant, he might have not been able to tell. Seeing Yi Mo's bewildered look, Caig said, "Brother Yi, you must not believe me. You must be thinking sect leader Wang reached Great Heaven more than 10 years ago, so how can there be someone stronger than him?" Yi Mo shook his head. "No, I believe you. But why are you telling me this?" "Huh. You really believe me?" Caig was dazed and immediately said, "Because I know you're someone with great capability and willpower. Even when they were spreading that you were the one annihilating the hidden sects, I didn't believe it. Not because you couldn't do it, but because you wouldn't lower yourself like that." Yi Mo looked at this woman in surprise. She looked very ordinary, but she knew him this well. Yi Mo suddenly looked at her. "Since you know me this well, this means that your seduction plan was also fake. Did you know I would reject you?" Yi Mo felt that woman was no simple character and had a lot of calculative means. Caig's face blushed and she shook her head. "I was genuine coming here. I thought you might reject me, but I wouldn't have regretted if you didn't. Even if you want to now, I can take off all my clothes. I trust that Brother Yi knows I'm not a casual woman. I will still hold my stance, I'm not interested. But whether or not the #1 master of Juming Academy is Wang Yijian, it has nothing to do with me. Moreover, how do you know about it?" Yi Mo said. Caig fell silent before saying, "Pang Wei killed my entire family and raped my mother and 2 sisters. I swore I would get revenge. But after I finally joined Juming Academy, I found out he was far stronger than me. When I was watching him practice ancient martial arts 8 years ago, I saw that he could glide in the air and shatter a large piece of cliff with one palm. I realized then that he was stronger than sect leader Wang and that perhaps I would never be able to get revenge. The reason I still stay here is to find an opportunity to ambush him." "Do you want me to help you get revenge?" Yi Mo asked with a frown. Caig shook her head. "I know it's too far-fetched to get revenge with my Earth-level power, even with an ambush. So I want to ask Qianbei to help me reach Great Heaven so I can ambush him." Before Yi Mo could reject it, she said again, "The reason that he could cultivate so quickly is not because he's very talented, but because he has a real ancient martial arts cultivation method. It belonged to my family. My dad found it, but before he could read it, that demon followed him to my home." Chapter 809, Wu God Chant. Chapter 809, Wu God Chant. "That Pang Wei reached true Great Heaven with that cultivation method of yours?" Yi Mo was quite surprised. This Pang Wei being able to reach great heaven in the outside world was something that couldn't be explained by talent alone. The only explanation Yi Mo could think of was that the cultivation method he got had to be pretty profound. Perhaps it was a real high-level ancient martial arts cultivation method. True great heaven? What is true great heaven? Caig asked in confusion. Yi Mo realized he had said too much and replied, "You will perhaps understand in the future." She said to Yi Mo, "The reason why he's stronger than sect leader Wang is not because of his talent, but precisely because he has been cultivating my family's cultivation method." "Where did your father obtain that cultivation method? What is it called?" Yi Mo was also a little interested in the cultivation method. He believed that in the later stages, an ancient martial artist's inner qi wouldn't be weaker than cultivation essence, perhaps it might even be stronger. The reason why Li Cheng's qi wasn't as strong as Yi Mo's cultivation essence was due to the three-birth chant. Li Cheng was perhaps even just cultivating a very ordinary cultivation method, while his three-birth chant was probably at the pinnacle level of cultivation methods in the cultivation realm. The cultivation system's items were also divided more clearly than in ancient martial arts. There were mortal, spirit, heaven, immortal, god and holy items. Each grade had levels of 1 to 9. The highest level cultivation method on Luoyu continent had only been a heaven grade level 2 cultivation method, an incomplete one at that. The cultivation method Yi Mo cultivated in then was at the mortal grade level 6, which could already be called rather decent. As for Meng Zhe's primordial chaos chant, Yi Mo estimated that it had surpassed the immortal grade, while the three-birth chant was at least a grade higher than that. Caig replied, "My dad and his friends went to Biyuju Mountain once. The Great Wilderness Sutra they had gotten their hands on said that outside the northwestern sea there was a spot in the wilderness with a mountain called Biyuju. They believed it should be near the Pamir Plains, Herman Mountain, or Jolan Mountain and went out to look for it. When my dad came back, he was injured and told me he had lost his friends. He had obtained the Wu God chant, though. I was the oldest of 3 sisters, so mother told me to go to the shop and buy something to eat for dad as well as some medicine. When I came back, I saw Pang Wei, that demon, leave my family behind in blood. As I quickly ran inside, I saw my parents and sisters in a pool of blood, and father wasn't dead yet, and he managed to tell me that it had been Juming Academy's Pang Wei. I've been at Juming Academy for 20 or so years, but I haven't had a chance to kill him." Yi Mo felt quite sympathetic towards this Caig. This Pang Wei was indeed garbage. Yi Mo didn't think that it had been that wrong to rob the Sura. He would rob something if it was like an immortal level cultivation method too, but Yi Mo felt contempt towards this man for killing and raping the victims. Yi Mo thought for a bit and said, "Dao friend Caig, even if I help you reach great heaven, you'd be no match for him. Do you know what power level he is at right now? Let me tell you about the true great heaven I mentioned before." Yi Mo explained heaven level to her, and Caig looked at Yi Mo in disbelief and asked, "Brother Yi, you're saying that sect leader Wang is only at the heaven level and not a proper great heaven master, while that Pang Wei is at true great heaven?" Yi Mo nodded, "Indeed, if I'm not wrong that is." Yi Mo knew he was right as he had scanned Wang Yijian too. He was still at the heaven level tertiary stage, but he was weaker than Qishan from Taiyi, much less Len Quan and Ling Wuxure. Caig's eyes looked hopeless. Her face went pale. She hadn't even reached heaven level, and even if she did, there would be a very small chance for her to succeed in ambushing Pang Wei. If Pang Wei was really great heaven, then even Yi Mo would be no match for him, right? Not to mention that Yi Mo had no reason to want to be involved. Yi Mo couldn't bear seeing her despair, so he sighed and said, "I can help you reach heaven level at least." Caig would be overjoyed if Yi Mo said this when she first came in, but now she sighed and shook her head. Her eyes were full of defeat. She bowed to Yi Mo and left. She was really intending to leave this time. "I can help you kill Pang Wei too," Yi Mo suddenly said. Caig's body shook as some light appeared in her eyes, but it soon dimmed. Yi Mo might die trying to kill a true great heaven. She felt very conflicted. She wanted Yi Mo to help her try, but she didn't want to harm Yi Mo. She knew that this might be her only chance, however. Yi Mo could tell what she was thinking. She smiled, I'm not risking my life. I believe I can kill him, because I've killed people as strong as him before. In the small world. Caig's eyes lit up again. Yimo nodded, yes, but I do have one request. Caig knelt down again. Brother Yi, as long as you kill Pang Wei, I will be your maid for the rest of my life. Even if you sell me to a human trafficker, I'd still be grateful to you for life. Yimo waved his hand and Caig stood up automatically. He said, I'm not interested in some maid. After I kill Pang Wei, you are you, and I am me. There will be nothing tying us together. I just want to see the Wu God chant. Yimo would go see that Pang Wei for the Wu God chant no matter what anyway, so he might as well tell Caig. Caig was overjoyed. With Yimo easily being able to lift her up with inner chi and the insurmountable power she felt, he should have a great chance of killing Pang Wei. The only thing she was worried about was Pang Wei's ability to glide through the air. She immediately said, although the Wu God chant is our family's, my dad obtained it in a stroke of luck. I don't need this chant. Brother Yi can take it, I just want to kill that demon. Yimo shook his head and said plainly, although I haven't seen this Wu God chant, I can guess that it's a top-level cultivation method. But no matter how good it is, I have no intention of taking it. I just want to read it once and you can have it back afterwards. Now, I will help you reach the heaven level. Eat this pill. Yimo gave her a great essence-increasing pill. Her. Caig knew that Yimo had decided to help her for free this time. He didn't need to help her reach the heaven level, yet he still did it. She knew that Yimo sympathized with her and detested Pang Wei for what he did. Thank you. Caig sniffed. For the first time after the loss of her family, she saw hope. Chapter 8:10, Juming Sect Leader. Chapter 8:10, Juming Sect Leader. Caig held the pill in disbelief that one pill could let her reach heaven level immediately. However, she still took the pill without hesitation. Soon, she felt a strong spirit force charging. In her joy, she quickly started running her cultivation method and turning it into inner chi. As her inner chi increased, her chi gradually formed. Yimo also took a pill himself and started cultivating. After a few meridian cycles, he got up suddenly. He had now reached stage 8 tertiary stage. Yimo got up and felt very satisfied. He had just noticed it was daylight now. He looked at Caig and at this moment, she stopped cultivating and got up. She looked joyfully at her hands, as though they had turned smoother. She felt a strong inner chi and felt as though she could easily destroy a house with the wave of her hand. I've reached heaven level, Caig said to herself. She thanked Yimo once again. She hadn't thought his pills were so powerful. Yimo smiled. Congrats. Zheng Chao happened to be at the door of Yimo's room and he heard his martial sister Caig howl in Yimo's room. He was shook. Was Yimo an animal? He just stayed at their sect for one night, but he had taken his martial sister to rape her. Zheng Chao had long wanted Caig. Although her looks weren't exceptional, he knew that she had a natural aromatic body. However, his talent was average and he had only been able to reach Earth-level middle stage due to all sorts of resources. But that had been more than 10 years ago, he stayed where he had been since then. Ever since he was rejected by her last time, he had wanted to catch up to her in power. Yet the more desperate he was, the slower he cultivated. Hearing Caig inside Yimo's room, he couldn't resist it anymore and immediately started knocking. If Yimo hadn't a VIP and he could beat Yimo, he would be kicking his way in. Yimo knew it was Zheng Chao outside. He looked at Caig and said, "Let's go out. Take me to that Pang Wei. After that, I will be leaving Juming Academy." "Yes, Brother Yi," Caig said. When the door opened, Zheng Chao saw Caig. Her clothes weren't very neat, they even looked a little messy. However, she had a smile on her face and didn't look like she had been forced at all. Caig rarely smiled. Zheng Chao was dazed and asked, "Martial sister Caig, did you come to City Lord Yi's room this morning?" Caig stopped smiling and returned to her cold look. She said, "No, I came last night. Do you need anything?" Hearing this, Zheng Chao immediately realized what was going on. What would a man and woman do together in a room overnight? He opened his mouth and suddenly pulled out his sword. He yelled, "I'm going to kill you." Before Yimo could speak, Caig sneered and kicked Zheng Chao many meters away onto a flower pot. Zheng Chao's yell startled a lot of people at once. Feng Wu was the first to get there. He looked at Caig, who didn't have tidy clothes, and then at Zheng Chao. He frowned. "Martial brother Zheng, what are you doing here?" "I will kill Yimo." He seduced martial sister Caig into staying in his room for the night. Zheng Chao snarled. Caig frowned and sneered. "Zheng Chao, who are you to me? I asked brother Yi to help me, so I came here. Even if he had called me over, what does that have to do with you?" Zheng Chao opened his mouth, but he was at a loss of words. Everyone immediately understood what was going on while Zheng Zhangxia smiled bitterly to himself. That brother Yi was a clean and honorable person, but it seemed like he controlled himself with women. Moreover, Caig was not an extremely outstanding woman. Yimo couldn't even be bothered explaining. "Hurry up and leave." Feng Wu yelled at Zheng Chao. He didn't want to look at him anymore. Then, he said politely to Yimo, "My martial brother heard that City Lord Yi had come and he got very happy. He wanted to see City Lord Yi. Please come with me." "I'll come with you." Zheng Zhangxia knew that Juming Academy didn't have a good impression of Yimo. He was one of the big 6 sect leaders, so he would go with Yimo to show his stance. Yimo smiled and said to Feng Wu, "Sorry, if sect leader Wang wants to see me, then tell him to come here. I'm going to do something with Caig. I don't have time to see your sect leader Wang." Feng Wu hadn't thought that Yimo would be like this, so he didn't know what to say. People starting discussing immediately. Although Yimo was strong and had managed to make Zheng Zhangxia reach great heaven in one night, he couldn't be so rude to sect leader Wang. After all, he was a Qianbei. And some people felt Yimo was no weaker than Wang Yijian. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to annihilate Gourd Cave. Yet he still needed to pay his respects to Wang Yijian. Only Zheng Zhangxia and Caig knew that Yimo wasn't doing this intentionally. It was like a yellow level telling an earth level, "Hey, you're not bad. I'll give you a chance to meet me." Would that earth level go visit the yellow level? It was already lucky for the yellow level that the earth level hadn't killed him. The atmosphere became eerie, but Caig said, "Martial brother Feng, brother Yi really does have something to do with me. He doesn't have time." Caig, Feng Wu hadn't expected Caig to be helping Yimo too. She even called him brother Yi. Even if they had slept together, it was just a one-night thing. She didn't need to change so much. When he looked at Caig carefully again, he screamed out in shock, "Martial sister Caig, you've reached great heaven?" "What?" Everyone observed Caig and noticed that she was like Zheng Zhangxia, obviously a great heaven master. Everyone looked at Yimo with fiery eyes, especially the women. They wanted to drag Yimo into a room and let him do anything he wanted so they could reach great heaven too. Zheng Zhangxia just then realized that there was nothing between Yimo and Caig. She couldn't have done anything else that night. Yimo looked around and said, "I found 3 great heaven fruits on the Duanheng ranges. I ate one and I let Caig and sect leader Zheng eat the other 2. Yimo knew that greed was endless. Hence, he had to eradicate their greed or he would have to slaughter, which was something he didn't want to do. "That means, City Lord Yi, that you're also at great heaven?" Feng Wu asked in shock. Before Yimo could reply, a deep voice sounded, "The Wanbei are indeed impressive. Since I can't get City Lord to come, I came to visit City Lord Yi." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,